Meet our protagonist, a mysterious warrior wandering like an absolute ghost. He carries heavy darkness inside, hunting down bizarre creatures the locals call monsters. Marin doesn't just fight solo. He actively uses his crazy skills to help others level up. But here is the weird part. He cannot stomach normal food. He only snacks on raw slain monster meat. He boils flesh with noodles, adding a little herb garnish. Everyone glares at him with pure disgust, completely freaked out by his bizarre monster diet. Despite his top-tier fighting skills, the guy is quietly panicking inside. He absolutely refuses to remove that helmet even when going to sleep. A terrifying red dragon took everything from him, including his family. He looks tough on the outside, but completely shattered on the inside. Holding on to tiny fragments of his past, Marin just wanders the land desperately searching for any real reason to keep living. During another typical wandering trip, our warrior stumbles into a tiny southern village. The locals are super mad about delayed carriages. One guy explains a rampaging monster is completely blocking the main road. Anyone who travels that route comes back totally battered and broken. A merchant starts panicking over a missed delivery to a rich noble because of the beast. Marin tries to leave, but the town forbids it. The noble suppliers spot our protagonist and immediately start whispering about his strength. They hesitate, but watch closely, they really need this order rushed. With literally zero other options, they invite our helmeted guy to tag along, hoping he can protect their precious cargo from the monster. The friendly merchant explains that carriages require an escort to leave, asking where Marin is headed. He casually mentions he is heading east toward Adorama. Realizing their paths match perfectly, the merchant offers a totally free ride plus free meals if Marin agrees to play bodyguard. Marin notes that all other transport is grounded anyway. The merchant sighs, admitting they are rushing hard to meet a strict delivery deadline. Realizing they are both in a hurry, Marin suggests a team up and basically accepts the job. He agrees to go. The merchant is thrilled, calling it a super wise decision. Told to wait while they hire more muscle before noon, Marin just hops in the wagon to catch a quick nap. On the road, Merchant Mahama introduces himself and asks for a name. Lounging back, our guy simply calls himself Marinras. Watching him chill, the merchants whisper, "Is he some weird army deserter? Doesn't matter. Anyone who can smash monsters is good enough for them." Half asleep, Marin mumbles that they should just hire more mercenaries if they are terrified. He drifts off. His visor goes dark and a nightmare hits. He suddenly gasps in the memory, his eyes snapping wide open in pure terror. Staring at a bloody severed hand on a brutal battlefield, he desperately wonders how everything went so wrong. A glorious hero sits dead against a tree. Let that sink in for a second while young Marin watches in pure horror. Marin spins around in absolute panic, sensing a deadly threat approaching from behind. The nightmare shows him frozen by the corpse. They are deep in a creepy web-covered forest as something sinister closes the distance. A massive, monstrous spider emerges. Looming over web-covered, Marin despair kicks in. He refuses to die here. In pure desperation, he vows to survive and make it back alive. Bleeding and stumbling, he mutters that he must reach Adorama weakly, calling out to someone named Ron. Bam, the dream snaps. Mahama shakes him awake, apologizing for the interruption. Marin brushes it off and asks what the problem is. Mahama simply explains they are discussing their travel routes. The group chats about their drops, casually asking Marin which exact part of Adorama he is visiting. Marin says he is visiting family at St. Ray's nursery. The guys are totally shocked that a tough place like Adorama even has a nursery. One guard notices Marin's strong build and super curiously asks about his level. He says sharing levels builds teamwork, flashing his own status screen. He calls it the heart's window for measuring raw strength. Acting all proud, he flexes his level 23 status, saying Marin might reach it someday. Marin casually opens his glowing screen quietly, realizing his own level is absolutely off the charts. Before anyone can react, the wagon violently jolts. Everyone goes flying as the driver completely panics. The driver screams the monster is here, yanking the reins hard. Up ahead, a massive beast charges through dust, absolutely tearing the ground apart. The red boar attacks. Trust me, you and I definitely need to see what happens next. Stick with me here. The massive boar roars, flashing monstrous fangs as everyone scrambles. The captain yells to pull the beast away from their wagons, but Marin calmly stops him. It is way too late for that. This is definitely the red boar. Staring it down, he notices something weird about it, but hey, a pig is a pig. He pops his appraisal skill. Bam. It is level 62. This monster is an absolute tank with insane attack and defense stats. Seeing that high level, he grins. Finally, a decent punching bag to test his strength. He pulls out his sword and steps right into the beast's path. Alone. While others run for backup, Marin just walks straight at the monster. The leader screams at him, asking if he has an actual death wish. Now watch closely. The massive red boar lunges at him with terrifying speed. They cross paths in a blur. A massive geyser of blood erupts as Marin completely slices the charging beast open. He lands cleanly behind it. The boar falls sliced perfectly in two while blood rains down. Crimson drops fall around him. He lowers his blade, the stunned caravan watching from the distance. Even he is shocked, wondering what just happened. Then the entire caravan absolutely explodes into cheers. One hit is all it took. Still totally stunned, Marin quietly asks himself if he really did that. Sure, he knew their levels were different, but a single swing doing this much damage, unreal. The big escort rushes over, hyping him up for literally splitting the monster in half. Everyone is whispering in awe. Is he human? Maybe an elf or some crazy beast man? They have no clue. Marin tries to answer awkwardly while the group swarms him. They are amazed but totally intimidated by this mystery guy. The burly guy laughs out loud, declaring that an epic win like this demands a huge victory meal. He tells everyone to eat before moving out. Marin just stares at his glowing hands. Later that night, they set up camp for dinner. By the fire, the crew gossips about why Marin never takes off his helmet. They joke his sword is a hidden treasure, but the girl points out his armor is cheap. Maybe he has a broken skill. She calls out for Mr. Marin to ask him directly while everyone gets the food ready. But he is totally gone. They look around wondering where he wandered off to. You and I are about to see him return with something wild. He trudges back in, literally dragging the giant boar corpse. He says it is for dinner, absolutely horrifying the entire crew. She screams that he is completely insane. Marin just shrugs, saying fresh meat is great. She orders him to toss it away right now. Nobody wants to eat a monster, so later they just hand Marin a plain bowl of soup. An escort scolds him. No matter how starving he is, dragging bloody monster parts to dinner totally ruins the vibe. He lifts his visor just enough to eat. He takes a very careful sip from his spoon. The taste is so incredibly bland that he actually grabs his helmet in pure shock. The girl happily praises the warm potatoes. Meanwhile, Marin is having an internal crisis. Do they seriously think this flavorless water is delicious? She glares, reminding him that this is outdoor survival food. What did he expect a 5-star gourmet steak out here? Looking at his face, she realizes he actually wanted to eat that nasty boar. She keeps lecturing him. Eating disgusting, potentially toxic monster meat is just a death wish. Pointing at the corpse, she explains the rule. You harvest the good parts, then burn the rest. Starving is literally better than eating that. Since he is heading to Adumara with them, he has to get used to normal human food even if it tastes like wet cardboard. The others are struggling to burn the giant corpse, so they call the girl over for help. The fat will not catch fire. She tells them to step back, getting ready to light it up properly with magic. Marin watches in confusion. Why are they asking an archer to use fire magic? She casually summons bright flames in her hands. With a flick, she completely engulfs the dead boar in a massive magical fire. Marin just stares, completely startled by her sudden magical skill. The escort praises how convenient magic is, wishing he could learn. She smiles, saying basic spells are super easy for anyone to pick up. She poses proudly. Marin walks up and asks if she is from the magic tower, making her jump. Nope, she insists she is strictly an archer. Marin is super confused, pointing out that mages usually come from the tower. And that is where we leave it. Turns out anyone can cast simple magic. Alright, you and I are jumping in, she teases Marin for sounding ancient. Mastering original magic takes years, sure, but basic magic is modern standard now. Has he been living under a rock? A little later, she guides him through thick bushes, pointing at something straight ahead. Standing on a hill, they stare down at Adorama. The entire city shines bright with magic tonight. Marin just stares, completely speechless at the glowing sight. It hits him. Streetlights, powered by magic stones, not regular oil lamps. She casually confirms this crazy tech is super common in cities now. She explains that even kids' toys run on magic these days. Times have changed insanely fast, huh? Marin stands alone on that hill, quietly absorbing this massive world upgrade. Staring at the stars, he looks totally lost in thought. Down at camp, the guards smell the roasting meat. They wish it was normal pork, not monster, joking about forcing Marin to take a bite. Around the fire, the guys joke about celebrating this successful run with cold beer and huge steaks. Meanwhile, our silent armored warrior just stands watching the blazing flames. Over in eastern Adama, merchants thank our armored guy. Taking down that dangerous red boar got them here early. Shaking his hand, the merchants are beyond grateful. Honestly, they admit they would have been totally doomed without Mr. Marin jumping in. Marin gives them a modest thanks. The starving guards start gossiping. They are shocked Marin did this whole escort run without eating once. One guy remembers trying to feed him. Anything solid made Marin hurl. He only drank water, making them wonder if he caught some weird illness. Now watch closely. They think his mystery illness is why that helmet stays on, worrying if it is contagious. Marin just stands there, face totally hidden. The caravan boss hands over a sweet extra personal reward for his help. Even without a prior deal, the boss insists throwing in a bonus is only right. Bidding farewell, the leader hopes they cross paths again. Marin opens the reward pouch. Just potatoes. He stares at the spuds in absolute silence. No idea what to do. So he just abandons them on the street, totally shocking a nearby beggar. Marin thinks back on everything. Finally, he has returned home to Eastern Adama. But walking these streets, the town changed so much it feels completely unfamiliar. Oh wait. He spots that old busy bakery. Glad to see some things are still thriving. Using that shop as a guide, he heads toward a nostalgic corner. He cannot wait to see his old spot. St. Rhea Nursery. The exact place where he grew up should be right here. But instead of his childhood home, a super bright flashy toy store stands there. Totally confused. Did he take a wrong turn, or did a toy shop really pave over his past? The owner steps out asking if he needs help. Marin anxiously asks what the heck happened to St. Rhea Nursery here. The second-generation owner shrugs. Never heard of any nursery in his life. Second-generation Marin is floored. He insists the nursery was right here, but the owner still draws a complete and utter blank. I know what you are thinking, things just do not add up. An old guy overhears asking about St. Rhea. Marin eagerly confirms. The elder explains he never saw it personally, but heard rumors long ago that it actually existed. Alarmed Marin asks what he means by long ago. The old man starts digging through his memories. He remembers hearing the nursery burn down. Marin freezes. Suddenly a terrifying dragon eye flashes in his mind. A massive dragon attack, the entire city drowning in flames. Realizing the nursery was destroyed, his mind jumps to his past life. He is drowning in dark water, remembering his totally unremarkable existence. Sinking deeper, he calls his old life completely dull and dreamless. Yet in this empty final second, one specific memory floats up. The simple warmth of a family dinner table. The loved ones who passed away before him. That was the end of life one. Blinking slowly, a wooden fishmobile comes into focus as he wakes up. Wait, he drowned, right? So why is there a bright ceiling and a cute mobile overhead? Kids notice him chilling in a crib. These excited boys start yelling for the sister, screaming that the baby is finally awake. Staring out from a baby body, he is completely confused. He remembers dying in that accident. A nun approaches, gently scolding the boys so they do not scare him. She lifts him up for everyone to see. With a warm smile, she asks if he slept well, welcoming him to St. Rhea Nursery. Trust me, we are hooked. She tells him today he is their new family. Stick with me. You and I are about to witness his first real memory in this new world. That nursery gave him a warmth he thought was gone forever. Fast forward to the present. He sets a heavy coin pouch on the table, calling it his monthly donation. The old nun coughs, protesting that he really does not need to give this much. But he insists the kids deserve some tasty food. She is super worried. He just got back a few days ago and is already leaving again. She asks if he is pushing himself too hard, but he simply brushes it off. She admits her fear since he rarely visits anymore. He just smiles, saying this time it is an easy job clearing out some southern goblins. Still feeling uneasy, she finally accepts his excuse. As he heads out the door, she demands a promise. She tells him not to stay away too long, promising to bake his absolute favorite berry pie when he returns. Marin nods and promises her he will definitely return. Boom, tragedy hits. Back in the present cemetery, a massive tree stands right where that nursery used to be. A nun asks if the grave belongs to someone he knew. She explains that the city was rebuilt after a brutal dragon attack, but the nursery, 0 survivors. Now this current temple stands in its place. She mentions that nobody has visited this specific grave in ages, gently asking how exactly he knew the person buried there. Marin just kneels in total silence with his back to her, and she instantly realizes the deep connection. Respecting his heavy grief, she steps away, leaving him completely alone. Staring at his own trembling hand, Marin remembers her telling him to come back quickly. He had promised her. He touches the carved plaque on the memorial tree, remembering how she told him not to worry. Heavy raindrops start crashing down against his dark helmet. Watch closely, you and I can tell he is wishing he was there during the dragon attack. He pictures himself facing down the massive dragon, wondering if his presence would have actually changed their grim fate. Completely overwhelmed by sorrow and crushing guilt, he drops right at the base of the grave tree. He realizes the worst part: he will spend the rest of his life never knowing if he could have saved them. The cold rain keeps pouring over the silent memorial tree marking the nursery. Days pass. Nuns spot the armored man still frozen by the tree, totally unmoving, and they worry he is going to catch a serious illness. They quietly whisper about how devastating this loss must be. Marin stays on the ground, grieving hard before slowly sitting up. Nearby, someone dropped a cloth-wrapped piece of fresh bread. One of the kind nuns had discreetly left that bread right beside him before walking away. Slowly, Marin grabs the loaf off the grass. He lifts it toward his hidden face, desperately trying to take a bite. Like always, normal human food just will not go down. He struggles to even chew, tossing the bread back into the grass in total defeat. He realizes he cannot keep a single thing down. Every flavor makes him sick to his stomach, literally preventing him from eating. Watching regular people eat the exact same meals just fine, he knows his messed up body is the real problem. Slumping back down by the memorial, he accepts his twisted reality. He cannot even cure his own basic hunger. Left entirely alone after losing his family a second time, he genuinely questions if this miserable, empty life is even worth living anymore. I know what you are thinking, just a smell, but this sudden aroma totally startles him. He picks up on something way richer than normal meat, insanely appetizing compared to his usual meals. His mouth starts watering like crazy. Completely hypnotized by the scent, he stumbles out of the graveyard tracking the city smoke. He pushes past crowds, heading the same direction, his eyes locked on the source. The intense smell leads right into a glowing orange alleyway. Hiding in the shadows, he hears guys complaining about having to burn monster meat at insanely high temperatures. They mention massive fines for dumping beast carcasses inside the actual castle walls. 2 workers manage a roaring fire full of monster bodies. One admits it smells incredible, but the other warns people might confuse it for real meat. They argue that even though the beast is not toxic, it looks too much like regular food, so burning it stops accidental snacking. Standing in the dark alley, Marin is totally captivated by the sight and smell of roasting monster flesh. The boss snaps at the worried worker, telling him to drag all the heavy carcasses outside the castle himself if he cares so much. He points out massive piles of beasts awaiting the flames. Driven by pure hunger, Marin stares at the roasting monster chunks, thinking about how ridiculously delicious it smells. Suddenly, a woman spots him sprinting away from the alley, figuring the intense stench was just too much for him. Back at the quiet cemetery, Marin actually returns holding a massive chunk of burnt monster meat. He slices off a piece, pulling it up close. The cooked monster flesh drips with juicy grease in his hands. Tilting his dark helmet up just a bit, he takes a bite. He finally chews without throwing up. Makes you think, right? We just watched him eat a monster. Trust me on this one. He thinks this meat is absolute perfection. He absolutely tears into it. The flavor unreal. Completely different from anything he's ever eaten before. Even with the burnt edges, every single bite just explodes with rich, savory juices. That incredible juice floods his mouth, and he is loving every second. This taste next level. It completely destroys those ordinary meals he used to choke down. Every gulp sends pure pleasure down his throat. But when he finally stops, he realizes his own hand is actually bleeding from gripping that bone so tight. Staring at the blood, he is totally shocked by how desperately he just clung to that food. Totally drained, he collapses face down on the cold cemetery stones, unable to move. Tears quietly drip from under his heavy helmet as he silently breaks down. Inside his head, he desperately apologizes to everyone from the nursery, feeling terrible that he is the only survivor. But here is the truth. Despite that crushing guilt, he wants to survive. Clenching his bleeding fist next to that gnawed bone, he vows to stay human and eat way more amazing food. He adds that he just wants to be happy quietly, asking if it is really okay for him to seek that. Suddenly, bright light breaks through the clouds, illuminating the dark graveyard. Warm sunbeams cover Marin and the memorial tree like an answer to his prayer. He gently bows his head under the light. Then a glowing, ghostly hand gently touches his bleeding fist on the stone. Startled, he quickly looks up, feeling that mysterious presence. Looking back down, the hand is gone. Instead, a bright green leaf rests right on his palm. Washing over with a feeling of true forgiveness, he drops to his knees in gratitude before the tree. His lips actually tremble, monster meat crumbs still stuck there as he gets ready to speak. Trying to steady his nerves, he shuts his mouth and locks in his resolve. Overhead leaves rustle gently as if the tree acknowledges his choice. Marin grabs his pack and shield again, totally ready to move forward. He tells the grave he is leaving for now, but he promises the tree that this time he will definitely return without any delay. Now, pay attention here. As he steps onto the streets, we are officially witnessing the start of his wild, secret gourmet journey as a brand new adventurer. Welcome to Hexelm, the absolutely massive Central Adventurer Guild, right in Adorama. Inside the packed hall, we learn that pretty much every single adventurer operates right through this famous guild. The guild officially manages and hands out every single quest posted on their big board. They handle dungeon raids too, but joining is tough due to their prestige. Outside, hopeful rookies are literally punching a test machine. Boom, a strong hit gets a passing grade, and the examiner loudly calls for the next candidate. The next guy completely whiffs, it fails instantly, and gets told to step aside. Then a mysterious hooded elf confidently steps up to the machine, while the crowd starts whispering. Smash! The machine gauge absolutely explodes from her punch, with the center flashing a bright red. That impact literally sends shockwaves of wind everywhere, showing off exceptional strength. She calmly drops her hood, revealing a gorgeous elven face and long hair. The screen shows a massive 5,312, and the examiner loudly announces it as the highest record of the day. The elf calmly celebrates her result, totally unfazed, while the entire crowd just stares in pure shock. People are freaking out, noting she crushed first place. Earlier, a massive warrior barely even scraped past 3,000. You're probably wondering the exact same thing. Where did this overpowered rookie come from? Cue the creepy veteran. He swaggers over, congratulating her while totally bragging about his own past glory. He asks her to party up, claiming they could easily hit A rank. She looks completely unimpressed by his act. She coldly shakes his hand right off, straight up telling the guy not to touch her so casually. Nearby Marin awkwardly steps right past, totally focused on his own business. A tiny mouse-like guild worker calls out asking if he is actually going to take a quest. Marin awkwardly apologizes for zoning out so hard. Watching the arrogant guy leave, the elf mutters about how annoying he was. She then turns to Marin bluntly asking if he can actually pass the test, looking that nervous. Marin answers confidently. Her expression softens into a warm smile and she places a reassuring hand on his shoulder. She tells him to relax a bit, explaining that being too stressed will block his real power. Feeling super awkward, Marin quietly thanks her for the solid advice. She cheerfully replies that fellow adventurers must help each other, officially sparking their brand new friendship. Our armored boy quietly wonders if he finally found some real companions. At the desk, receptionist Daisy gives him a warm smile, cheerfully saying they were definitely expecting him. The elf named Daria strides up confidently and is greeted with total respect. Daisy mentions that rumors about Daria destroying the strength test have already spread everywhere, but Daria just humbly plays it cool, brushing it off. Daisy officially hands over the adventurer certificate, proudly registering Lady Daria into the famous Hexelm Guild as a brand new D-rank rookie. And that's where we leave it. Even if you completely shatter the high score, everyone still starts at rock bottom D rank. Alright, jump back in with me. Daisy explains that higher ranks mean harder missions, but Daria's skills guarantee a quick promotion. Daria is hyped and wants a quest right this second. Daisy scans the leftover D rank board. She finds 2 jobs clear, a level 15 gargoyle mansion, and grabs some gremlin eyeballs. Daria snatches them up. But there is a catch. The gargoyle mansion requires a full party. Annoying. Why? Because this unpopular dungeon is totally unconquered. Monsters breed like crazy there, making massive rampages a huge risk. So D-rank rookies absolutely must team up first. Back in the noisy guild hall, Daria grumbles about the stupid rule. Finding a party in this crowd, good luck. One guy is literally picking his nose. Not exactly elite material here. She sighs. There is 0 chance of finding a decent partner in this mess. Now, pay attention here because things go completely insane. Boom, a test golem violently smashes straight through the wall behind her. Debris goes flying everywhere. The whole guild goes into absolute panic mode. Through the dust, people scream for a medic. Daisy sprints to Daria, who is unharmed but totally stunned. Everyone stares at the massive hole. How did something that heavy get chucked like a baseball? Daria and Daisy slowly turn their heads. They know exactly who caused this. The armored new guy stands in the wreckage. Yeah, he threw it. He spots Daria staring. Utterly panicked, he faceplants onto the floor, bowing and screaming his apologies for the massive damage. Daisy waves it off, telling him to chill. Nobody died, and he did not actually cheat on the test. A veteran staffer mutters that he has never seen anything this crazy in his whole career. The guy keeps begging for forgiveness. Daisy smiles and says a little cash fixes everything, then starts calculating the bill. Wall repairs, busted tables, a broken golem, and paying for lost guild business time. She cheerfully demands 2 gold and 30 silver. Easy peasy, right? Not for him. Our guy checks his tragic, practically empty coin pouch. Completely broke. He nervously asks for an extension. Take your time, Daisy smiles. But wait too long and the guild will absolutely sue you. Cue the cold sweat. He swears to pay it back quickly, realizing he has to grind quests like crazy now. But only party quests are left. Suddenly Daria walks over. I know what you're thinking, why help him? She flashes a wink, inviting him to join forces since comrades should stick together. The armored guy is incredibly suspicious. Why is this elf approaching him? He secretly pops his appraisal skill. Holy stats, she is a level 36 elf archer rocking the title Spirit User. Daria suggests they team up and just knock out 1 request each. Win-win. That makes him even more suspicious of her overpowered stats. But Daisy confirms a warrior and archer combo is actually perfect here. Seriously, it is the ultimate party composition for exactly these kinds of missions. He hesitates. Joining a random stranger feels risky, especially since they do not even know each other's names. Daria gives a proper polite introduction. Reluctantly, our guy decides to just roll with it. Remembering his massive debt, he knows he needs cash fast. Teaming up is his only choice. He shakes her hand, introducing himself as Marin Grass, just Marin for short. Daria happily accepts pumping him up to go all out on their very first quest. Marin sighs. He hated the idea of parties, but she is super strong. Splitting the workload means less stress for him. Figuring this totally random team might actually work out, he officially registers their 2-person party. As they turn to leave, Daria suddenly grabs his hand, totally awkward. Marin freezes as Daria glares at him. Her face goes completely dark as she asks, "Are you truly a human?" Cut to later. Marin arrives alone at a creepy forest, finding the exact quest location. He stands staring at the Gargoyle Mansion cave. Daria is already there, yelling at him to hurry. So what do you and I make of this duo inside? Daria bitterly complains about carrying a lowly human. Marin just listens, thinking about elf history. They are beautiful, immortal, and usually enslaved by humans, which explains her massive grudge. Classic fantasy drama. Definitely the total opposite of Daisy. An elf showing kindness definitely didn't fit history. Moving forward, ominous purple energy swirls around Marin. Major dungeon danger vibes. Soon, our two adventurers step straight into the eerie courtyard of a gargoyle mansion. Stick with me here because looking around, this place actually deserves to be called a mansion. Spotting flying monsters circling the building, he locks onto the gremlins and hits a praise. The system identifies these gremlins as level 18 threats, high attack stats, and seriously sturdy bodies. Watching the swarm in pure disgust, Daria barks at Marin to stay out of his way, throwing in another classic human insult. Marin just ignores him completely and walks off, leaving the elf totally stunned. Daria snaps, yelling at him to listen. He angrily calls humans a rude, short-lived race who just get in the way. Marin shoots back that Daria started this casually, dropping that he is actually over 100 years old himself. Confused by how calm Marin is, Daria demands answers, but Marin just suggests they follow Daria's first plan and split up. He proposes staying out of each other's way. Daria is absolutely shocked that he plans to dive in solo without prep. Marin calmly points out they are just level 18 gremlins. For fighters at their level, you don't really need special prep. Daria freezes. He realizes Marin must have checked his stats with a high-tier appraisal skill, suddenly fearing Marin might be stronger. He angrily accuses Marin of secretly peeking at his personal info back at the guild. Daria rants, calling him a filthy human for the secret scan. But mid-tantrum, a gremlin swoops in for a sneak attack. Still trashing humans, Daria keeps whining about the absolute disrespect of checking someone's stats without asking. He just keeps shouting, calling Marin completely shameless. Watch closely, because right as the gremlin ambushes him from above, Marin's blade flashes in to block it, demanding absolute silence. With one forceful slash cutting through the air, he completely silences the gremlin. Marin scolds him. Staying quiet in a dungeon is basic common sense. As monster blood sprays everywhere, a totally rattled Daria wipes his face. Without missing a beat, Marin casually admits he absolutely checked Daria's info back at the guild. Daria feels totally vindicated and yells again. So Marin suggests if he hates him that much, they should just finish up fast. Turning his back, Marin says the best move is clearing both their objectives as quickly as possible. Daria gets super defensive, hating the implication that he is slowing them down. He loudly demands Marin just pull his own weight. Daria fiercely claims he will solo the gargoyle boss, telling Marin to just farm gremlins. Marin casually agrees to the plan. Starting his side of the quest, Marin casually snatches a lunging gremlin right by its head. He makes quick work of the gremlins, leaving slain monster bodies scattered everywhere. Hitting 50, he figures that's enough eyeballs for the quest. Glancing at Daria, he spots a new problem developing. Daria's bow just snapped completely against a gargoyle horn, leaving him in deep trouble. Marin's appraise reveals these gargoyles are level 21 stone monsters, basically super buff gremlins. Surrounded and panting heavily, Daria struggles. He desperately lunges forward, trying to bash a gargoyle with his broken weapon. Watching calmly from a distance, Marin decides the elf probably will not die if left alone. I know what you're thinking, but Marin just decides to relax and grab a snack. Eyeing a gremlin corpse, he wonders what is edible. Comparing it to a frog, he butchers it just like one. After trimming the edible chunks, there is way less meat than expected, so he just cuts it into small pieces for skewers. For some variety, he skewers the organs too, figuring they might taste like regular animal offal if he cooks them right. He roasts those skewers over a campfire until they sizzle perfectly. The finished gremlin skewers honestly look surprisingly appetizing. Marin admires his first ever monster cooking attempt, pretty proud of the results. Super curious about the flavor, he lifts his helmet and finally takes a bite of the gremlin skewer. His eyes light up. It's actually delicious, proving monster meat can totally be tasty. He compares it to duck rather than chicken with a slightly gamey, pungent kick. Munching away, he thinks sauce would make it perfect. Totally satisfied, he casually strolls down the dungeon corridor, still happily munching on his snack. But suddenly he collapses. A system alert pops up saying he got hit with minor poison, officially putting him in a poisoned state. Paralyzed, he realizes he cannot move an inch. Writhing there, he figures that pungent flavor was actually literal poison. Panicking without an antidote, he's totally frantic. How does he survive? We're about to find out. Suddenly, a crazy idea hits him as he remembers the word antidote. Stick with me here. He figures gremlins never use poison offensively, so their bodies must naturally neutralize their own deadly toxic venom. The liver detoxifies poison, making it the perfect key. Grabbing a raw gremlin liver with literally zero other options, he just chows down, betting his entire life on this crazy gamble. A system alert confirms the gremlin venom is completely gone, and Marin exhales massively. Finally feeling safe, he sits up and fully admits he thought he was completely doomed. Looking back, he realizes people probably avoid monster meat for safety, not just disgust. From now on, studying real antidotes is his top priority. Right then, Daria sprints over, completely traumatized by the disgusting scene he just witnessed. Absolutely horrified, Daria yells, asking what madness he is doing. Sitting among butchered gremlin guts, Marin replies weakly while the elf just glares in absolute shock. Gripping his head in pure agony, Daria whines that humans are way more barbaric than he ever imagined. This entire grotesque situation is pure insanity. He just cannot believe Marin casually ate raw monster parts. Marin tries talking, saying he totally respects vegan elves, but judging meat eaters, that is just wrong. Obviously, this logic only makes Daria explode with more anger. Daria spirals into total despair, calling this entire team up a living nightmare. He just wants his precious world tree. Trying to stay sane, he confirms the gremlin quest is actually over. So why has Marin not just packed up and left already? Marin points out they took this job as a duo. If they split up and fail, the guild might blame them and Daisy takes the fall too. Imagining poor Daisy getting yelled at, Daria genuinely freezes up for a quick second. Totally flustered, the elf barks that Daisy is his own problem, not Marin's. Since they still have time on the clock, Marin casually offers to help smash the remaining gargoyles, just so they can finally finish this whole team job faster. Daria stubbornly rejects human help, vowing to finish it all himself while ordering Marin to stay put. Now pay attention. When Marin randomly pulls out a completely bizarre object, Daria just stares in pure confusion. Marin casually lifts his sword and a cooking pan, noting he forgot one tiny detail. Turns out, he used to be a shield soldier. He immediately activates a massive provocation skill, making insane noise. The harsh sound instantly lures nearby gremlins, while flying gargoyles quickly lock onto his location. Daria watches in pure horror as Marin aggressively bangs the pan. How on earth does clanging cookware connect to being a defensive shield soldier? Finally realizing the terrifying truth, Daria frantically screams to stop. Basically, provocation is the ultimate shield soldier technique designed specifically to pull aggro and save your teammates. The skill forces every monster in the area to target the user, creating a perfect distraction. Because of this, an absolute tidal wave of monsters dives toward them, leaving a terrified Daria calling him a maniac. Completely chill, Marin notes that sure, it protects friends, but it also beautifully herds flying enemies into one perfect kill zone. Watching the terrifying swarm rush down, he even questions if his taunt skill was always this broken. Tossing the dented pan away, he sighs and mutters, whatever. The horde closes in fast. He triggers his sword and martial arts skills, massively boosting damage and agility for epic close combat. A massive flock of stone gargoyles swoops down to crush him. The angry elf screams at the human for starting this chaos, but reluctantly readies his bow for long-range support. But wait, you and I didn't see this coming. The human swordsman literally blitzes the gargoyles, slicing them up with absolute godlike speed. The elf just stares completely stunned. He mutters this is literally impossible, as the human effortlessly slaughters the last remaining monsters. While Daria questions reality itself, Marin reflects. He used to struggle against just 5 gargoyles, absolutely mind-blown by his crazy new power-up. Later on a dirt trail, the elf quietly wonders who this overpowered human actually is, suddenly asking him to wait. He points out Marin basically handled the whole fight, but Marin casually reminds him that party quests mean shared rewards anyway. The swordsman smirks, reminding the elf he wanted to finish fast anyway, trailing off with a butt. Sweating awkwardly, Daria claims he only helped to speed things up, completely regretting his earlier trash talk about humans being totally useless. Suddenly, his long elf ears aggressively twitch. Catching a weird noise nearby, he quickly stops Marin, shushing the swordsman and asking if he heard it. The elf deeply focuses, making Marin marvel at his wildly flexible elf ears. Suddenly, sensing serious danger, Daria panics. He instantly bolts straight toward the noise, leaving a very confused Marin to jog after him. Looking down from a high cliff, they spot a stranded merchant wagon and some people. Merchants whine that hitting a dead deer delayed their black market trip. And trust me, you and I will definitely want to see what happens next. Stick with me here, we are kicking things off with a scumbag merchant brutally stomping a chained elf captive. Our observing elf glares absolutely furious at this cruelty. Meanwhile, the terrified young captive begs them to stop hitting him. The elf mutters to Marin that pure garbage like this makes him despise humans. He rages that humans claim slavery is dead but secretly traffic innocent races as property. He orders Marin to draw his weapon, demanding they teach these thugs a lesson. Marin just asks why he should. Shocked, the elf demands what he just said. Marin calmly asks how he even knows this is an illegal captive, pointing out legal loopholes. The angry elf argues he literally heard them mention the black market, but Marin tells him to just report it to the guards instead of slacking off. Feeling totally betrayed, the elf says he thought Marin was different, but he is just another human. Gripping his bow, he decides to attack alone. Suddenly, Marin pauses and sniffs, catching a weird scent floating by. Cut to the wagon where the boy cries beside a dead deer while getting completely chewed out. That strange smell lingers heavily here. Inside the dark wagon, a captured elf mother hugs her chained daughter, promising everything will be okay. Remembering a sweet nun from his past, Marin thinks about innocence. Up above, the elf gets ready. Shoving his doubts aside, he channels his epic training to punish anyone who hurts his kin, charging up an insanely powerful bow technique. Drawing back the string, he fires a heavy arrow flying straight toward the dirty merchants. Now watch closely. Mid-shot, the elf spots something totally unexpected. Boom! A projectile slams down by the wagon, creating a massive dust cloud. The panicked traders furiously cough, asking what just exploded. They spot a massive sword jammed right into the wagon wheel. The elf whips around, demanding why Marin interfered. Despite acting lazy earlier, Marin remembers being taught that kids are completely innocent no matter what adults do. He declares that children are completely blameless and no one is allowed to hurt them. The traders panic about flying spikes until a guard finally points at the cliff above. There they are. The elf and Marin standing together on the ridge, looking absolutely badass. One nervous trader screams out, asking who they are. Another angrily yells, thinking they can actually get away. The elf screams that humans are arrogant trash, declaring war because his captured comrades are right there. The boss trader just laughs. He claims they are officially licensed under Marquis Bastel, meaning this slavery is totally legal. Hearing that big noble name, the elf flinches and repeats it in total shock. The guy points at his wagon wolf crest, flexing that Marquis Bastel authority. He demands a full apology and cash. He viciously mocks forest elves, calling them uneducated troublemakers who ruin everything outside the woods. This insult completely enrages the elf, but before he attacks, Marin notices something funny and finally speaks up. You and I both love this kind of twist. Marin instantly points out the crest is totally fake. Irritated, the trader asks who the hell Marin is, insisting the famous wolf symbol is right there. Marin just stares at the eyes. He drops a lore bomb. The original Bastel ancestor only had one eye, making their crest unique. So that two-eyed wolf, super fake. The fake Bastel guard turns pale, realizing they just got completely exposed. The other traders swap panicked looks, going dead silent. Marin calmly smiles, noting that faking a noble identity is literally punished by the death penalty. Panicking hard, the boss orders his thugs to slaughter our duo. A huge armored guy charges while Marin casually sighs about how mercenaries used to have rules. He dodges the heavy strike, muttering that old manners are totally dead nowadays. Boom! Marin counters with absolutely massive force. The warrior screams in pure agony, spitting bright red blood everywhere. He gets launched like a ragdoll, terrifying the others. He literally crashes into a giant crater. The giant brute lies completely broken. Everyone just stares mind-blown that he fell in one single strike. Another thug catches a swift arrow straight to the face. The bleeding trader curses them out, calling them complete scoundrels. Looking at Marin and the angry elf ready for round two, the pathetic captors instantly surrender. Later that night, outside the glowing guild, Marin gets showered with thanks. They desperately ask how to repay his epic rescue. The freed family practically cries with gratitude, while our elf archer humbly says he just did what any kin would do. And that is where we leave it. The elf apologizes for stalling, wondering if it is truly over. Alright, let's jump right back in. Our guy just handed those shady traders straight over to the guards. And since these goons pulled some noble fraud, the city authorities are gonna deal with them properly. The little girl shyly steps up. The elf woman steps in, confirming Marin really was their armored hero. Her daughter absolutely beams, calling him super cool and saying thanks. The family heads out, the kid happily waving bye to Mr. Uncle. Marin just watches them go, totally silent. Meanwhile, the elf archer awkwardly clears his throat, grumbling that he'd never say this to humans. But he finally chokes out a thank you. He hates owing humans, but Marin did just save his entire group. Marin's response, deadpan. If you're thankful, pay me. Hearing that gratitude equals hard cash leaves the poor elf completely stunned. The elf absolutely loses his mind, realizing Marin only fought through that dungeon for the money. Marin calmly argues cash beats feelings any day. The elf just fumes, hating that he actually felt grateful to a guy like this. Still grumbling, he practically throws a coin pouch at Marin, telling him to take it and scram. I know what you're thinking, ruthless, right? The elf storms off, swearing off humans, while Marin happily shrugs, securing his bag. Cut to the next day, at the bustling Hexam Guild. At the counter, staff verify his collected loot and that sweet reward money. The receptionist smiles, congratulating Marin for perfectly clearing his very first guild request. She's actually impressed. It was a super high difficulty job for a rookie, but he breezed right through. She hands over the cash, but Marin freezes. He awkwardly points out that the payout looks way too small. She cheerfully drops the bomb. Guild rules automatically deduct his massive debt from any rewards. Just policy, you know. Totally crushed, Marin nervously promises he'll pay off the rest super soon. Realizing he is painfully broke, he decides there's no time to rest. Time for another quest immediately. He shuffles right back to the guild's huge request board. Scanning the flyers, his stomach growls. He wants to taste some new exotic food, checking what fits his current rank. He spots a regular subjugation at Stanita Dungeon, but skips it. Stone monsters do not taste good. Then a higher-level request for the orc's hut catches his eye, a fresh hunting ground he hasn't visited. He immediately starts drooling, wondering if orc meat tastes like premium pork. Suddenly, footsteps sneak up right behind him. It's a cheerful woman he met before. She's totally shocked to see him doing adventurer work. She jokes she thought he starved since he didn't eat on their trip, but she's thrilled he's alive. Her team approaches, so she introduces him. She points out Orga, their party leader and their quiet-robed mage companion. Mickey calls Marin that strong but picky mercenary she mentioned. Orga gives a polite nod, saying he has heard the rumors. She explains Orga is an archer too, and Hecate is their mage. The three of them have been exploring together for ages. Marin does the math. 2 archers, 1 mage. Who the heck fights on the front line? Mickey sighs, admitting they usually hire temporary tanks, but recently they've had 0 luck. Because they lack a melee fighter, they've been totally locked out of dungeons. Then she gets an idea and makes a pitch. Mickey formally asks if Marin wants to be their vanguard for the orc's hut dungeon run. Now pay attention, because here's where things get wild. Marin's surprised, but soon, they're standing outside the lush dungeon. Inside, chaos hits instantly. A massive orc chucks a boulder, nearly throwing Mickey right off a cliff. An arrow perfectly strikes the orc's eye. With Marin tanking and Orga sniping, they deal heavy damage while Mickey cheers. Heka wraps it up with a brutal headshot explosion. The orc drops dead, twitching in a blood pool. Mickey and Heka celebrate the flawless combo, super relieved that Heka's cast speed held up. Heka admits having Marin holding the front line makes hunting so much easier, but then the ground starts shaking. Earthquake. Nope, that's the sound of furious orcs charging straight at them. Mickey totally panics. A swarm of 50 enraged orcs is rushing in. Their kill just aggroed everything. Orga screams to retreat, and they sprint down the path. But disaster strikes. Heka trips and cries out. An orc raises its giant club to crush her. Someone screams her name. Terrified, she braces herself, but sees a reflection rushing in fast. Marin blurs between her and the monster, slashing so incredibly fast that blood just explodes everywhere. Trust me, you'll want to see what happens next. Marin carves through the horde bodies and heads flying everywhere. Alright, stick with me. We jump back in right after Marin completely slaughters that whole orc group. Surrounded by dead monsters, Mickey literally cannot compute Marin's strength. Suddenly, the very last orc roars, lifting its club, even though it is packed with arrows. They quickly finish the beast off, bringing their body count to 10. Time to finally take a rest. Chilling right next to the carcasses, the group talks about Marin's insane, terrifying power and how lucky Heka is. But when Heka turns to actually thank the guy, poof, he is completely gone. Suddenly she sniffs the air. Wait, is that roasting meat? Heka is totally confused about why a dungeon suddenly smells like a weekend barbecue. Tracking that delicious scent, they find Marin sitting alone, casually cooking over a little fire. Mickey immediately scolds him for hiding the food eagerly, suggesting they toss in some mushrooms she just gathered. The camera shifts, showing Marin calmly pan-frying meat right next to a freshly butchered orc corpse. Pure horror hits Mickey. She screams at him for cooking the quest monsters, since grilled orc is definitely not loot. Yep, a caption literally calls it grilled orc thigh, as the camera zooms in on that sizzling, juicy pan. Chewing on the monster meat, Marin calmly notes it tastes like a bizarre blend of cow and pig instead of just regular pork. He just keeps eating, wondering if it leans more toward beef or pork. He takes another massive bite and decides this stuff is actually super tasty. He completely relishes the rich juices, declaring it is definitely more like pork, totally praising that fatty, tender flavor profile. His party is absolutely disgusted. The priestess literally starts praying to the heavens to cleanse this terrible evil from the land. Unbothered, Marin just thinks about bringing salt and pepper for his next monster grilling session. Totally confident, he happily declares that a seasoned orc steak is guaranteed to taste incredible. Eating the new batch, he happily confirms that a simple pepper seasoning is absolute perfection. He does admit it is slightly greasy, thinking it might pair perfectly with some fresh vegetables. Watching from afar, 2 members are completely disturbed. Honestly, you and I would probably be praying this freak show was just a bad dream too. Still chewing, Marin casually calls the rest of them over. Completely ignoring their terrified huddle, he figures dinner is done, and literally plans to take leftover orc meat home for future recipes. A hand grips his shoulder, snapping him out of it. The archer sighs, explaining he has heard of desperate people eating monsters before. He begs Marin to please hide his weird eating habits, leaving Marin shocked they are not just kicking him out. They awkwardly promise not to dump a heavy hitter over some weird food choices, and the priestess shyly offers him some normal biscuits. Marin politely declines the food. The team urges everyone to just eat normal beef jerky and rest, which he again refuses. Suddenly a flashback. A massive orc roars in a forest as Marin and his old party ready their magic and weapons for a brutal fight. The enraged monster charges right at them, but Marin perfectly blocks the massive strike. His squad backs him up, dropping magic lightning and arrows to crush the beast. Snapping back to reality, the priestess stares at Marin by the fire with a super troubled look. Another memory flashes, his old crew chilling in a dark ravine at night. Back in the present, a teammate mentions it is their last day and asks why Marin always sleeps completely isolated. He bluntly replies that it is just easier. Setting up the night watch, the fighter quietly broods, the priestess yawns heavily, and the archer volunteers to take the first shift. Marin finally lies down as the sweet priestess thanks the squad and wishes everyone a good night. Listening to the campfire crackle, he completely drifts off. The firelight reflects right off his shiny helmet, pulling him deep into another weird dream. Inside the dream, his old party jokes around the fire, laughing about how their priest loves starting random fights. Walking up with firewood, his friends totally roast him for taking way too long when the fire is already burning. His old leader smiles. But pay attention here, Marin violently snaps awake from this nightmare, screaming out his name. He blinks, finding his current party surrounding him, absolutely terrified by his sudden outburst. Super confused, Marin asks why they are all awake, since it is not his turn yet. The priestess aims a glowing charged spell right at his face. She coldly warns that one single twitch will blow his head off, demanding he answer them right now. She confesses they used an appraisal stone on him while he slept. His insane durability made them way too suspicious about his true identity. Clutching that glowing stone, the fighter nervously stammers, asking what this terrifying result means. The floating window displays Marin grass with totally hidden stats. Magic Tower Successor Knight and Kinslayer. Trust me, you and I definitely need answers for that. His comrades furiously demand an explanation, while Marin completely freezes. Here is where you and I pay attention. The system defines Kinslayer as massacring over 100 of your race. It actually boosts his attack power against humans. Look at him standing there completely surrounded by a mountain of dead bodies. The fighter is absolutely horrified. Over 100 people dead, there is no way they can ever brush this off. Sure, 0 criminal record with the Hexelm Guild, but that title, the Archer, knows it is a massive, serious issue. Magic already glowing, the priestess demands he explain himself. If it is just some misunderstanding talk, but Marin tenses up, staying completely silent. They push harder. Did he join them just to murder everyone? They desperately need to know why he holds that Kinslayer title. But all Marin can do is apologize. 0 details given. The Archer flat out refuses to drop this. High level or not, whatever his excuses are, a history of murdering humans changes everything. He spells it out bluntly. Knowing what Marin did makes trusting him absolutely impossible. Then he formally kicks him from the party. Marin quietly takes the hit and packs his gear. He shoulders his bag and walks away. The remaining 3 just stare in awkward silence. Flashback to a century ago in the Terrace Forest. A screaming goblin lunges young Marin and his old party fight in perfect coordinated formation. The archer smirks, firing her bow while cheering that their trap worked perfectly. Her arrows pierce the goblins, dropping them dead right at their feet. Their armored leader praises the awesome teamwork, quickly checking for any injuries. She hypes up the archer for dropping 2 targets at once, though the archer shrugs it off. The priest jokes about the massive goblin body count. Meanwhile, Marin gets roasted for slacking. The leader steps in, asking if he finished gathering the proofs. Super respectful, he calls her Charlotte and confirms they are absolutely ready to move out. Walking ahead, the priest complains about a sassy guild worker, wondering why the goblin numbers seem lower than reported. Marin points out they are just at the entrance. More could be hiding deeper, which sparks talk of a secret settlement. Later that night, he mentions something weird. Monsters never just run away in pure fear. Then, a chill hits him. Walking up to Charlotte, he asks if she hears that. Now do not blink because things get insane. He turns to see his comrades dead, standing like glowing-eyed undead. Those red eyes surround him. Terrifying, accusing voices demand to know why he betrayed them. Why did he alone survive the slaughter? Marin violently jolts awake, absolutely haunted by the nightmare. Gasping for air in his guild room, he just sits in complete silence, staring out the window. Time skips to the busy guild hall. The second Marin walks in, people whisper and stare at him. Gossip spreads fast. They call him the rumored killer, warning everyone to avoid making eye contact. More whispers call him a scammer who joins parties just to extort and murder them. They question why he is even allowed inside the guild. Marin realizes the rumors blew up overnight. People are just making up totally wild exaggerations now. Whatever. He ignores the haters and greets the receptionist. She says he arrived perfectly for huge news. I know what you are thinking, but watch this. He gets instantly promoted to C rank without taking an exam. She explains that the C rank exam got completely abolished. Basically, if your skills are high enough, the system promotes you automatically. The system definitely changed since his past life. He eagerly asks if he can grab C rank quests. She cheerfully agrees, spreading out the remaining C rank sheets. Marin is thrilled. His rank jumped up and so did his options. Then a specific flyer catches his eye. a level 30 quest called Harpy Nest asking for gathered feathers. Hearing Harpy makes this guy imagine buckets of fried chicken. After eating pork like orc, he is super excited to taste some bird-like harpy meat. Suddenly, someone insults him as a total money-obsessed bastard. That gets his attention. A cocky elf adventurer named Dahlia casually greets him. Dahlia smirks, bringing up the rumors of him killing 100 humans. He mocks Marin, calling him a total celebrity among adventurers. Marin ignores the bait, stating he wants the harpy quest. Annoyed by the silence, Dahlia complains that humans should be begging for attention from non-humans like them. That is where we leave it for now. A fierce beast woman steps up asking if this is the human. Alright, let's dive into this comedy. A confident beast woman with ears and tail stands right before Marin. Dahlia casually introduces this wild girl as the actual leader of his new party. She cheerfully calls herself Emotar, bragging she knows all about Marin. Meanwhile, Dahlia totally panics, begging her to shut her mouth. Marin thinks this girl totally looks like a brawler based on her heavy gear. Curious, he secretly uses appraisal to check her stats. Boom, she is a high-level beastman priest packed with crazy combat titles, but her highest stat, pure, raw physical strength naturally. Absolutely stunned, Marin rubs his eyes and checks again. Yep, her job literally says priest. Emotar proudly flexes her priest status. Marin just stares completely skeptical about how that brawler appearance screams holy. He compares standard gentle healers to Emotar's total brawler physique, concluding this girl is the exact opposite of holy. Dahlia casually explains he wanted a non-human squad. He stumbled onto Emotar's human-hating party recruitment and just decided to sign right up. Emotar chimes in. Right now it is literally just her and Dahlia. She specifically hunted Marin down after hearing those wild rumors. She admits she originally hated inviting a human, even a kinslayer, but once she heard about his insane combat skills, she gave the green light. Completely lost by this backward logic, Marin says he just does not get it. Dahlia sighs at his slow human brain while Emotar confidently extends a hand toward our guy. Emotar hyped up demands Marin join them. She loves his massive human kill count and proudly offers him a special spot on the team. Marin raises an eyebrow. Why should he even accept? Now watch closely. Emotar mentions his terrible reputation means zero options. Seeing other adventurers glaring, you and I both know she is absolutely right. With those nasty kinslayer rumors spreading everywhere, he knows joining a normal party is completely impossible, so he just caves and agrees to tag along. Emotar literally cheers, praising his smart choice. She wants to test their teamwork right away. When Marin asks about their actual destination, she smirks like the answer is the most obvious thing ever. Slapping a harpy hunting request, Emotar yells they are heading straight to the dungeon. The trio steps into a pitch-black dungeon. Instantly screeching harpies dive bomb from the ceiling. Emotar charges ahead, yelling to crush them all. Flying enemies are a total nightmare for a shield user, but Marin readies his stance for combat. Right as he thinks about jumping a lightning, fast arrow streaks past and snipes a harpy. Dahlia drops enemies from the sky like flies. Marin instantly realizes having a sniper makes life easy. Dahlia swears no human will steal their kills today. He tells Marin to just stand firm with his shield and enjoy the free show. A totally crazed harpy plummets straight down at them. Emotar suddenly screams for Marin to raise his heavy metal shield. She stomps onto his shield, using it as a springboard. Boom, Emotar launches herself high into the air. She soars right past the harpy, delivering an absolutely devastating smash. The dead monster crashes down as Emotar lands smoothly. Emotar hypes up Marin for his quick reflexes, calling their combo perfect. Marin just casually asks her for a tiny warning next time. I know what you are thinking. Watching this crazy new crew fight, Marin admits having capable comrades actually feels pretty amazing. Clearing out several targets, Emotar happily cheers that their coordination is rock solid. She suggests taking a quick break since they just wrecked those harpies. Suddenly, Marin spots something super weird among the bodies. He finds a tiny fluffy creature waving feathers around. Is this thing another dungeon monster? Dahlia totally mocks Marin for not recognizing a trendy living doll, basically a cute mini golem. Dahlia explains these pet golems activate with pure mana. And get this, his is a super valuable limited edition model named Foco. Dahlia treats it like a puppy, praising it for gathering feathers. Since it runs on magic, it never eats and only stops if it breaks. Train it right, and it literally helps with dungeon combat and daily cleaning. Emotar laughs, calling Dahlia a huge baby who is obsessed with cute things. As Marin stares at the doll, Dahlia defensively clutches Foco like a total weirdo. Emotar quickly warns Marin that the doll is a magic golem, definitely not a dungeon snack. Marin defends himself, swearing he said nothing. Emotar just orders them to hurry up and keep hunting. Later on, Dahlia smiles. They already wiped out half their quota, proving their luck is insane today. Emotar totally agrees the run is flawless. Emotar asks why Dahlia hesitated to introduce Marin earlier, considering his absolute tank-level strength. Is it just because he is human? Dahlia awkwardly dodges the question. Suddenly, Emotar sniffs the air. Wait, is that the smell of juicy roasted chicken? Realizing Marin vanished, Dahlia and Emotar immediately suspect he sneaked off to secretly grill some fresh meat. So, what do you and I make of this? They rush over only to find Marin literally setting up a campfire and cutting board to fry harpy meat. Pure comedy. Let's dive right into this wild monster cooking show. He salts the meat and starts grilling. As the cuts sizzle, Marin absolutely loves the sound. He focuses hard, making sure to flip them perfectly. Done. He proudly plates up what he calls a fresh grilled harpy shoulder loin. Staring at the meat, he figures harpies are basically just big birds. So, hey, it should taste like chicken. He takes a big bite. Pure, silent, absolute delight. Marin is ecstatic. The texture is exactly like chicken but way richer, super juicy, and just slightly sweet. While he's planning his next dish, Dahlia and Emotar burst in screaming. Dahlia yells she knew he'd do this and demands to know what is actually wrong with him. Cut to the campfire. Our armored guy apologizes for eating alone and offers them some. The elf instantly scolds him. You cannot eat something that literally still has a face. The Beastkin girl is absolutely horrified. She cries out that this is the worst thing she's ever seen. Calmly, the human argues a harpy face isn't really human. The Beastkin screams, he is totally missing the point. The elf groans about witnessing such brutality again. But the Beastkin, she licks her lips, secretly tempted. He casually holds out a plate of perfectly cooked meat. The other two are completely speechless. She fights her own appetite, calling the food a monster while mentally kicking herself for wanting it. Watching him munch away calmly, her animal ears perk right up. The food is calling her. He casually offers her a bite. Both her and the elf angrily reject it, shocked he even asked. I know what you're thinking, she's gonna crack. The amazing aroma makes her visibly waver. She cries, he's cruelly tempting her while the elf desperately panics. Getting a whiff of the stew, she aggressively demands why a monster smells so incredibly delicious. Oh right, that reminds him about the boiling pot. He lifts the lid. A bit overcooked, but ready. He reveals stewed harpy legs, and they are completely baffled that he's eating the bony legs with zero meat. The Beastkin simply hears him say he just wanted to try plain, unseasoned chicken feet. Hyping himself up, he takes a massive bite of leg. Going full food critic, he notes the slow simmer made the meat incredibly soft, held together by rich gelatin. He dreams about adding spicy sauce, even planning to take a leftover leg home for proper seasoning later. The elf glares absolutely distressed by this whole scene. Seeing him gnawing away again, he screams asking what it is, and the guy simply offers a piece. The elf screams that harpy talons are loaded with paralysis poison. He swallows, immediately collapses in pure shock. Panicking, the elf orders their Beastkin priest to cast cure, but she awkwardly admits she never learned basic healing spells. Too much work apparently. The noise attracts a wild harpy. She blames the elf but steps up super hyped to test out her brand new attack spell. The elf yells at her to wait. Suddenly a massive inferno roasts the harpy and horribly his pet Foco. The poor elf screams in sheer horror, staring at the charred remains of his new pet. You and I both saw that disaster coming, right? Smoke rises as the guys twitch while she stares silently at her devastation. Furious, the elf shakes her, screaming about his dead Foco. She cries, blaming her totally garbage spell proficiency. He swears a century-long grudge. She nervously offers to buy a replacement, but nope, it was a super rare limited edition. Back at the guild, the receptionist easily confirms their quest items. Looking completely dead inside, the trio begs the guild to please just trash the leftover meat. Walking away, the elf whines about his mental exhaustion. The Beastkin just awkwardly promises to buy him a new pet Foco. Suddenly, our guy silently pulls out another harpy leg, terrifying the Beastkin. She freaks out. Are you eating more? He casually says, wasting it after all. That butchering would just be totally foolish. She begs him to at least stash it in his magic storage, a skill he totally forgot he even had. Flash a status window pops up explaining his personal mana vault for storing non-living items. He opens up the empty inventory grid and realizes he completely forgot this existed. Super embarrassed, he realizes he has been lugging bags around like an idiot. No wonder everyone stared at him. Seriously disturbed that he forgot basic magic, he genuinely wonders if he is going crazy. That's where we leave it. The Beastkin asks about their performance, snapping him from his mental breakdown. The elf and Beastkin recap the quest, decent teamwork and skills, even if the ending was totally chaotic. Let's dive in. They want him to stay. She begs to form an official party, swearing together they'll crush any quest. He seriously weighs the offer. Sure, they absolutely hate humanity, but they are undeniably strong. Plus, having a squad is always better than flying solo. Looking at the hyped Beastkin and chill elf, he officially joins. The Beastkin completely loses her mind with joy and sprints off to register them immediately. The elf sighs and tells our guy that despite everything, they are now teammates. Doing a proper introduction, the elf dramatically asks the human to treat him well for his short mortal life. That sparks a memory. A past armored friend once offered him the exact same welcoming handshake. Snapping back to reality, he awkwardly accepts. Right then, the beastkin runs back, waving the paperwork, happily screaming that their official party application is totally complete. She hypes up their brand new, officially registered name. You and I both know this will end badly. She named them the Misanthrope Party. The elf absolutely explodes over the ridiculous, super undemocratic choice. She defends it, saying she heard the human mutter that exact word at the harpy nest and thought it sounded deeply moving. She smiles, claiming the vibe was just right. Meanwhile, the elf is practically ripping his hair out because she used a word without even knowing the definition. He yells that party names require a unanimous group vote, but she just shrugs. Nobody else had ideas, so she blindly followed the leader's cool-sounding word. The poor elf falls into pure despair. Every future legendary deed will be credited to Misanthrope. He literally cries out to the world tree for mercy. Our human thinks a weird name is not exactly a world-ending tragedy. He decides to completely ignore the drama and just focuses on grilling harpy meat back at their inn. The beastkin spots him leaving and asks what is up. He says he is heading back to the inn to sleep. Not happening. She demands a massive welcome party and drinking session right now to celebrate the new team with their shiny quest money. He tries dodging it, but she insists a welcome bash without the rookie is pointless. She orders the crying elf to dry his tears and join them. Night finally falls. Happy cheers erupt inside. Inside the packed tavern, the energetic beastkin tells her crew to eat and drink until they explode. The elf is still completely salty. He refuses to be called a misanthrope, but she casually tells him to get over it because the paperwork is already locked in. The elf aggressively shouts about whose fault that actually is. Meanwhile, the human just stares quietly at the absolutely delicious-looking feast. Staring intensely at the massive platter, he gets really tempted. He wonders if taking just one single bite would be a terrible idea. While the elf roasts the terrible name and the beastkin roasts his attitude, the human takes a bite. The verdict: absolutely vile. It basically tastes like chewing on hot newspaper. The beastkin tells the elf to shut up about the name because she has serious business to discuss. This gets the human curious, asking what exactly the big topic is. She drops a bombshell about their main party goal. Their ultimate mission is hitting rank A as insanely fast as possible. The human questions why they need rank A specifically. The elf replies that they both have deeply personal reasons. The narration explains that adventurers in Hexali start at rank D, fighting through tough promotion tests up to rank B. Getting past rank B is different. Reaching rank A requires massive guild recognition for your exceptional skills and epic achievements. Pay attention here because this is wild. The rank A test is a complete mystery, tightly guarded and only known to a few acknowledged elites. Staring hard at the roast chicken to gather courage, the beastkin finally starts sharing her backstory. She reveals a heavy truth. Her little siblings are still enslaved by humans, and she needs a massive fortune to buy their freedom back. She explains her master gave her exactly a 3-year deadline to raise the cash. He promised not to sell or hurt her siblings during that time, and guaranteed their freedom if she brings back the money. Her family got enslaved right after the revolution that ended official slavery. Money is the only way to buy their status back. Hearing this, our guy is completely lost and just confusedly repeats the word revolution. The elf and beastkin are absolutely stunned he does not know. They figure he must have lived under a rock for decades to miss a huge human event. The elf sighs and gives the simple version. For centuries, humans basically abducted and trafficked every single non-human race. He explains that elves were hunted purely for their beauty and dwarves for their rare crafting skills. Beastkin were brutally treated as lesser animals, and trapped among those countless victims was this girl's family. He describes how prisoners were locked in dark cages abused to satisfy greedy human desires. Inside those hopeless cells, their people broke physically and mentally. Anyone who tried to escape and got caught, brutally executed on the spot. Trust me on this. The oppressed races finally allied to crush human tyranny. Stick with me here, we are picking up right after a massive revolution. Humans remember it simply as the brutal race war. The allied races demanded the total abolition of slavery, straight up threatening a full-scale war if the humans dared to refuse. Humans tried playing tough at first, but with way more to lose, they quickly caved. They finally agreed to the terms, signing a treaty, outlawing non-human trafficking and setting strict rules to protect their lands. Because of this, non-humans slowly came out of hiding and walked the streets freely. The elf points out that this exact treaty lets him and other non-humans work as adventurers today. The beast chimes in, saying she became an adventurer the second she got freed. Why? It was the fastest way to make cash for her siblings. The human gets curious and asks about the elf's deal. Dahlia replies that his ultimate goal is to become the elder of his home forest. He explains his family line has always served as forest elders. By tradition, that massive responsibility passes directly to the absolute oldest child. The problem: his older sister absolutely hates that idea, but their relatives keep forcing it on her anyway. Clenching his fist, Dahlia claims nobody is more confident in protecting that forest than he is. So his family struck a deal: he gets the elder seat if he proves himself in the outside world before turning 150. Meaning hitting A rank as an adventurer is not the end goal, just a totally necessary stepping stone. From escaping slavery to claiming an elder seat, the human realizes his new teammates carry some incredibly heavy baggage. Dahlia then mentions they all have big wishes. He hopes the human helps them reach those goals ideally while chasing a similar big dream of his own. The beast casually asks the human about his own goal. Suddenly, he remembers sitting quietly in front of a memorial tree thinking about his dark past. Back at the tavern, he just sits in complete silence. His party quickly tells him it is totally fine if he wants to keep it secret, but he clenches his fist, realizing this is exactly why he travels. Now watch closely. He finally admits he wants to hunt a specific dragon. Dahlia and the beast freeze in pure shock, barely whispering the word dragon. He explains it is the exact beast that completely wiped out Ada's village. He is totally dead set on bringing that specific monster down. Plus, there is something super important he has to do the second he finally meets it. He braces himself totally, expecting them to laugh off his crazy vow. But instead, they look at him dead serious, urging him to keep talking. Dahlia laughs, saying he originally thought the human wanted nothing. Now he sees this ambition is absolutely massive, joking he probably wants to eat the dragon too. The elf points out that dragon hunting needs top-tier info, meaning the human has to hit a super high rank anyway. With their goals finally aligned, the trio raises their mugs, toasting to an epic new partnership. Morning sunlight hits the town. A brand new day begins. Sitting in his room, the human decides to take a break today. Since the party is officially formed, he is just going to cook something amazing. We all know being a hero is expensive, right? He checks his coins, realizing those crazy lodging fees have completely drained his pockets. Shaking it off, he gets a pan of oil nice and hot. Then he pops open his storage skill to grab his perfectly preserved ingredients. His hand slips right into the glowing dimensional rift, pulling the food out. He is super hyped to see the raw meat is still perfectly fresh. This magic storage literally keeps food flawless. It is the ultimate endless pantry. Time to cook. He whisks eggs and flour into a smooth batter, then evenly coats the meat right in the crispy breadcrumb mix. Next, he gently drops a battered piece into the fryer. Oh, that sizzle is just music to his ears. He plans to fry it golden brown, flipping it a bunch of times, going for that double-fried maximum crunch. Shaking off the extra oil, he proudly plates an epic serving of fried harpy thigh chicken. He pokes a piece with his fork, cracking that golden crust. Looking closely, he knows he nailed this first attempt, realizing bigger chunks were definitely the right move. He tilts his helmet up just enough to take a bite. Pure bliss. That crispy crunch mixed with juicy harpy meat is completely out of this world. He actually compares the sweet, rich taste to the absolute best premium crab. It is so addictive he is actually glad he made a small batch. Honestly, meat this high quality was guaranteed to be legendary once fried up. Right in the middle of snacking, a voice calls out from the hallway. The human instantly recognizes Dahlia outside. The elf hammers on the door, yelling at him for sleeping past noon and demanding he open up. Slowly, the heavy door cracks open. The human steps out, still fully helmeted. Dahlia just asks why he wears it inside, and honestly, you and I are wondering the exact same thing. Alright, you and I are jumping right into this mess. Dahlia interrupts with urgent news, begging to enter while our guy complains it is dinner time. Dahlia drops a bomb. Something terrible just happened to Immortal. Our guy freezes up. He quickly drags the elf inside. If this is serious, they need absolute privacy to talk. Catching sight of the fried harpy plate, Dahlia immediately snaps, accusing him of illegally cooking monster meat again, but the elf forces his anger down. Immortal's life or death crisis takes absolute priority right now. Taking a seat, he forces our hero to swear absolute secrecy. Immortal cannot know about this conversation. Then he straight up begs for a loan. Our guy just stares, completely blindsided by the cash grab. Instantly annoyed, his expression turns dark. If the elf is just here begging for coin, the door is right there. But an off-screen voice suddenly echoes, begging him to just listen. Dahlia sits back down. Our guy crosses his arms, warning that without a damn good reason he is getting tossed out. The elf reveals a dark past. Immortal's old human master absolutely played him. Our armored hero reacts in pure shock at the brutal betrayal. Outside the inn, the rest of the crew gossips about Immortal secretly hoarding cash for his little siblings. He even took the day off just to go visit them. Bam! A fist slams the table hard. Someone explains the sickening truth of what that old master did today. Now pay attention here, because this is where things get seriously dark. In a red-lit auction hall, a caged child sits trembling. The trash master is selling them. Our knight connects the dots. The master only freed them to set up a sick, twisted psychological game against Immortal. A beast woman remembers Immortal desperately begging the master to stop. The cruel response: pay a massive ransom in exactly 5 days or the kids are gone. She then asks the crushing question: how much had he actually saved up? The price is insane, 10 gold per kid, 20 gold total. Immortal is completely devastated. Our reincarnated narrator quickly breaks down the world's cash system. One single bronze coin equals roughly 10 yen. 100 of those make a silver. 100 silver makes 1 gold, exactly like standard RPG logic from his past life. A regular adventurer survives on barely 2 gold monthly. Do the math, 20 gold is basically 2 million yen. Earning that in 5 days is practically impossible. Beastwoman didn't want to gossip, but the usually proud immortal literally begged her to help save his family. Back at the table, Dahlia confirms he needs that ransom money. By treaty, minority races are allies, and he refuses to let slavery slide. The elf practically begs, swearing to repay anything. But our knight shuts him down fast. They literally just met and formed this party. Plus, our guy is broke anyway. He flat out demands actual proof before even considering dropping that kind of cash. The elf sighs, knowing this harsh logic is perfectly in character for him. Still, he mutters that Immortal is totally screwed. We both knew he had a soft spot, right? The knight instantly twitches, hearing these are tiny babies who just learned to walk. He aggressively points a finger, shouting that the elf is using cheap emotional damage. The elf defensively claims he is just stating facts. Switching to business mode, the knight demands to know his cut. The panicked elf immediately starts rambling about interest rates. But what if they die, or default? Our hero points out the glaring flaws, and the elf totally freezes up, completely outplayed. Gripping his hand tight, Dahlia desperately wonders if he has to do something completely reckless to fix this. Suddenly, the knight motions the elf closer. Leaning in, Dahlia quietly asks if our guy possesses the wind attribute. Nope, he absolutely does not. The elf just blinks, totally confused by the whispering. Time for a quick magic lesson. Anyone smart enough can cast basic spells, but elemental aptitudes make specific magic way stronger and cheaper. Basically, if you are born with an affinity for fire, your fire spells cost less mana and hit like an absolute truck. Usually normal people only ever get one single element when they are born. Only legendary geniuses get multiple affinities, and history's most overpowered mages all belong to that lucky group. Dahlia takes a deep breath and drops his final card. If the knight helps save them, he will personally grant him a super rare wind spirit attribute. Now our hero is highly intrigued. Sweating nervously, Dahlia asks if that payment is still not enough. Our guy fires back that granting attributes is insanely difficult and ultra rare. Swearing on the sacred forest itself, the elf insists his unique power is the real deal and begs to be trusted. Hook, line, and sinker. The knight accepts the deal. Grabbing a quick bite on his way out, the knight casually says, "It is time to move." The drained elf blindly follows behind. The scene cuts right outside the busy guild building as our duo departs. Walking through the streets, Dahlia nervously asks how they will actually make 20 gold fully, knowing it is an absurd favor. The knight's answer, illegal poaching and black market deals. Trust me, you are going to want to see this chaotic hustle unfold. Let's dive in. The elf is freaking out. Sneaking into high-tier dungeons without permission is totally forbidden. The knight nods but points out it's literally the only way to get filthy rich super fast. But the elf ain't having it. Way too dangerous and super illegal. See, guild quests have levels and skipping ahead, a massive no-go here. Break those rules. You're looking at insanely heavy fines and a fast-track ban from doing any requests. The knight completely ignores the fine, pointing out the real issue. High-tier dungeons are simply too far away. He does the math. Travel alone eats up 3 to 4 days. That basically blows their entire 5-day deadline right out of the water. So the knight flips the script, asking the elf, how are you planning to farm this cash? The elf admits he actually thought about begging his distant relatives, but instead he's just going to empty his tiny adventuring savings account. Won't be much, honestly. Marin, our knight here, casually asks if the elf has any other shiny valuables stashed away. The elf points out Marin is practically a rookie adventurer too, suggesting he pawn off any spare gear for some quick and easy cash. Marin instantly opens his item storage. Swiping through his loot, he spots his single most valuable asset, a pair of seriously flashy, over-the-top ornate earrings. They high-five on a plan, split up grind for maximum cash, and meet back to combine their loot. Fast forward to a gorgeous evening over the city. Prep day is officially a wrap. Watch closely here. The cloaked knight heads into a shady underground market, slipping behind a heavy secret door. A super shady shopkeeper demands his business. The knight steps right up, announcing he's got goods to sell. The fence smirks, expecting black market monster parts, until our boy just drops those shiny earrings right onto the counter. At first, the fence just scoffs. He thinks it's basic jewelry meant for some boring normal boutique. But then his eyes go wide. Total, absolute panic mode. He recognizes them, the fragment of the Pleiades. It's an insanely rare drop from a literal vanished dungeon. The guy starts demanding where he found such legendary tier loot. Our knight stays perfectly calm under that hood, just casually says an old comrade gave them over. Boom, scene change. We're at a massive noble mansion, clearly owned by that awful slave master. Inside, Immortale is shaking on her knees while this absolute trash-tier master mocks her. He's literally gloating, taunting her beast nature and acting like her resistance was completely pointless. He laughs that giving her 3 years of freedom was just a whim, sarcastically asks if she enjoyed her little walk outside. Classic villain garbage. Immortale is seeing pure red right now. She's literally fantasizing about completely crushing his smug face. Suddenly, her ears twitch. Someone is calling out her name, asking if she's in there. Recognizing the voice, she turns in shock. You and I both know who it is. Dahlia and Marin have arrived. Immortale bares her fangs, furious that Dahlia brought a hated human along. But Dahlia explains Marin actually helped secure the cash. Immortale is super confused and angry, but Dahlia shuts it down. Details later. Right now, they've got a ransom to pay. Marin casually steps right up, flexing a completely stacked money bag. He declares they're Immortale's official party members, and boom, they brought the full ransom to buy back her brothers. Immortale absolutely hates relying on a human here. She's terrified he'll use this massive debt to torment her forever. The master sneers. No way low-rank C-class adventurers got this rich. He totally suspects they're using fake counterfeit coins. But when he pours it out, genuine solid gold. His jaw practically drops. They actually pulled off 20 gold pieces that fast. Immortal yells that the money is real, demanding her siblings get released immediately. The master smirks. Sure, the gold is real, but he pulls a sneaky contract clause. Immortale had to earn it personally. Since her friends paid, he claims the whole contract is totally invalid. Immortale is absolutely crushed, but Dahlia snaps right back. The treaty says slave families can pay the ransom no matter where the gold came from. She straight up accuses him of breaking the law. Totally cornered and fuming, the master finally orders his goons to bring the slaves and their papers. Immortale is seething over his dirty trick. She realizes without Dahlia having her back, she would have been completely doomed. Finally, a servant walks back into the room, politely thanking everyone for waiting. 2 tiny fox-like siblings are brought in. Immortale bursts into tears, rushing forward to hug them tight, frantically asking if they've been hurt. As Immortale sobs and apologizes for taking so long, Marin just watches in silence. He sees the kids are exactly how Dahlia described them. He's totally disgusted that such tiny children were enslaved and neglected. So what do we make of this? Seeing them starved, he clenches his fist. This master is definitely gonna pay. Alright, stick with me. You are about to see an epic flex. The master finally hands over the siblings' papers, and Marin immediately says he is tossing them to make their freedom official. Immortale sparks flame magic right in her palm. Hugging her little brothers tight, she burns those slave papers straight to ash. The scumbag master grudgingly admits the kids are totally free now, but he smugly reminds Immortale that she is still his property and tells our crew to get lost. The jerk mockingly offers Marin the empty chains, but he refuses, gearing up for his next move. He flat out announces he is buying Immortale's freedom too. Dahlia and Immortale are completely stunned by this. She argues she only needed her siblings saved, insisting she can handle her own mess from here on out. Completely ignoring her protests, Marin simply asks the master if more gold will close the deal. He then lets out a chuckle, apologizing for totally ignoring her little outburst. Watch closely, here comes the cheap trick. Smiling wickedly, the master claims she is already in today's auction and flatly refuses a direct sale. His creepy steward chimes in, saying canceling an auction listing would be super difficult. They tell the group to just buy her there instead. Immortale is absolutely floored, yelling that an auction was never part of the original plan. Furious Dahlia accuses the guy of lying and totally rejects his lame excuse. The master just laughs. Selling a legal slave is his right, and how he trades her is totally up to him under their current deal. Dahlia is fuming over this dirty trick, but Marin tells him to just think strategically. Inwardly, Marin knows this whole auction story is a total lie. Since she is legally property, they really cannot stop an auction. Out loud, he agrees to buy her there, which completely surprises Immortale. Totally bewildered but clinging to hope, she asks what on earth he is planning. Walking away, Marin tells her not to do anything crazy and wait, hinting he has a plan. She seriously wonders why he is helping her. A close-up shows Marin's quiet resolve. He remembers a lesson from his past. Kids always need someone to look after and properly guide them. His memory shows a caretaker telling him the same thing, saying, adults must protect the young. We see a gentle hand patting a little kid's head driving home, that protection vibe. A kind nun tells him every child deserves safety and protecting them is his real purpose. Back in reality, Marin tells the freed kids that only their big sister can truly protect them. He tells Immortale that saving her brothers is just step one. She has to stay, feed them, and guide them as a proper family. Deeply moved, Immortale agrees to try living that way. But she warns Marin if he talks big and fails at the auction, she will never forgive him. Outside, Dahlia agrees to the plan, saying they will meet her at the auction. Once they leave, Immortale hugs her siblings, glaring uneasily at the gloating master. The master just laughs, mocking her surprisingly reliable new friends. He taunts her hard. Does she really think those weak little allies can save her? You and I know villains never play fair. Grabbing her chin, he hisses he won't just sell her. No matter what, she can never escape him. He vows she will definitely return to him, absolutely terrifying her. She demands to know his evil plot as he orders auction prep, clearly scheming something really nasty. Night falls and it is auction time. Up on stage is a new lot, a violent human criminal slave in surprisingly good health. Marin and Dahlia sit with the crowd as bidding for that guy opens at 4 gold coins. Marin whispers that Beastman slaves usually go for around 8 to 9 gold pieces, so their pooled money should cover a higher price. They wait as the current sale drags on. Waiting for Immortale, the announcer says the next lot is a different race, grabbing Marin's full attention. Immortale hits the stage, hyped up as a wolf beastwoman hero from the Frontier Coliseum, a powerful cleric with rare healing magic. Standing wrapped in chains, she glares determinedly at the bidding crowd. She thinks bitterly that her scumbag master definitely used some dirty tricks here, desperately needing to warn Dahlia. The announcer hypes her beastman's strength and youth to really bait the bidders. Her old master watches eagerly from a balcony, super smug she is up there. Down in the seats, Dahlia starts sweating. They spent a lot, and their remaining cash is running low. So, what do we think? Can our guys win? The master sneers. They are absolute fools, while a rival bidder vows to crush them. Alright, stick with me. We are diving into an auction where the starting price is purely insane. That rich guy in green immediately flashes his paddle to bid. The auctioneer calls on bidder 57 for his price. Dahlia curses under her breath. They acted too slow. Then the guy casually drops 20 gold, absolutely stunning her right there. Immortale physically shakes hearing that massive price tag on her own head. There is absolutely no way her friends have that kind of cash. She helplessly listens as the auctioneer demands even more money from the crowd. Dahlia is totally panicking. Beast can usually go for 8 or 9 gold tops, so bumping it up by 10 more is just a total scam. But then Marin calmly raises paddle 21 to enter the chat. The auctioneer demands his max bid, citing the strict limits of 30 gold for humans and 50 for non-humans. Without missing a single beat, Marin casually drops 50 gold, completely shocking Dahlia. Dahlia screams that he only had 10 gold left, but Marin just shrugs, clarifying he never actually said that was his entire wallet. The merchant screams that he knew that guy selling those rare earrings was suspicious from the very start. Totally outplayed, the auctioneer sweats bullets, nervously checking if Marin actually said 50 gold. That is the absolute limit for non-humans. The crowd starts whispering. These random adventurers look dead broke, so they must be planning to dodge the bill or delay this massive payment. The auctioneer strictly warns everyone bids must be paid right now. He urges the crowd to only offer the exact cash they can actually afford. Ren the elf completely panics as Marin suddenly walks off aggressively, demanding to know exactly where he is going. Now watch closely. Our guy just casually walks up to the stage while someone anxiously protests. The Beastkin girl recognizes this armored dude right away. She hesitantly calls out Marin's name, staring in pure disbelief. What on earth is his big plan here? Marin dramatically raises his hand, dropping a blinding shower of pure gold coins. He coldly asks if that giant pile of cash is satisfactory. The greedy auctioneer is completely dumbfounded that some low-rank scrub actually dropped 50 gold for a slave. Kneeling right in front of that mountain of coins, she realizes she just sold for an absolutely enormous price. The gavel hits sale confirmed. She looks up in absolutely stunned relief. Night finally falls over the town and the crazy auction settles down. 2 little Beastkin siblings sprint happily toward their big sister, calling her name. She pulls them into a massive hug, so relieved they are safe. They are finally truly free. Later on, Ren furiously yells at Marin for hiding all that cash. Marin just casually replies that nobody ever asked him. Ren sighs, admitting he is glad it worked out. While the girl joyfully cuddles her brothers, Marin politely calls out to her for a little chat. She shyly thanks Marin. He literally saved her and her brothers' lives, and she genuinely has absolutely no idea how to repay him. Suddenly, the younger siblings sniff the air. A ridiculously delicious smell just floated over. They yell that it smells like meat. Marin casually offers to feed everyone, but the girl is still stressing about repaying him, asking Ren for some serious advice. Ren smiles, saying Marin considers them real comrades. Simply working together is payment enough. Hearing that she eagerly and happily accepts the deal. She notes that Marin smells like amazing fried food, asking Ren if they had something super tasty for lunch today. You and I both know that smell. Ren realizes it and panics. Seeing Marin casually about to serve that fried meat, Ren absolutely screams at him to keep it away from the kids. Marin turns around super confused, asking what is wrong while holding the plate of fried pieces. One kid opens wide, and Marin tosses a crispy morsel right into his mouth. The kids completely lose their minds, ecstatically calling it the most delicious thing they have ever eaten. Ren is completely freaking out, desperately demanding what Marin just fed those kids. The girl is super puzzled at first. She thinks it is fried chicken, confidently saying Beastkin kids have iron stomachs, so a little grease is totally fine. She proudly adds that growing kids can eat almost anything, assuming it isn't solid iron or a literal monster. But then she gets a little suspicious. She asks Marin what meat he actually used, and he casually replies harpy. Absolutely horrified, she screams at him for feeding monster meat to her precious little siblings. She frantically tries slapping the filthy food away, but the kids are already addicted, protesting that it tastes way too good. They literally beg for more fried harpy while she desperately refuses. She catches a whiff herself and hesitates. Looking completely determined, she sits down with a fork full of harpy meat, preparing to eat it instead. Her master plan: she resolves to take a bite, collapse dramatically, and scare the kids out of eating anymore. Fighting her massive disgust toward eating a monster, she steels her nerves. Saying she will endure this for her siblings, she brings the meat up. She plans to completely fake being poisoned no matter how it actually tastes. She bites down and trembles. Ren thinks she is poisoned, but you and I know the truth. It is just too delicious. Let's jump right in. Ren nervously asks if she's poisoned, but she's totally speechless. Overwhelmed, she suddenly yells about how insanely delicious it is, practically refusing to share. The kids start begging for a bite. Shoveling it down, she's absolutely mind-blown. It's the most tender, savory meat ever. She can't even believe she's actually eating harpy. Marin quietly asks if it tastes good, getting her totally flustered. Embarrassed, she screams a lie that it's gross, vowing revenge on Ren for feeding her harpy. Suddenly, Ren remembers a crucial detail and yells out to Dahlia. He demands that until Marin repays that 70 gold advance, 90% of his quest rewards belong to Ren. Marin is absolutely shocked by this. Ren totally explodes, calling Marin a heartless jerk who's trying to starve him. Marin dryly claps back. If going hungry actually kills him, he should just die. With that chaos settled, Ren asks for the special reward Marin promised. Later that night, they head deep into the woods for Ren's mysterious reward ritual. Ren explains the village is too crowded and spirits hate that. Marin asks how he can even grant an attribute blessing in the first place. Ren tells him to take off his gloves to expose some skin, kicking off a lesson on spirit blessings. Marin bears his hand as Ren explains the lore: elves conceived in the forest get a spirit's blessing at birth. These kids get an innate attribute power from a unique spirit that bonds with them from day one. That bonded spirit becomes a lifetime guardian. By asking it, an elf can actually pass a similar blessing on to somebody else. But Ren drops a massive detail: bestowing this kind of blessing is strictly a once-in-a-lifetime act. Now pay attention here. It's usually saved for family or saviors, leaving Marin shocked by how precious it is. But Ren admits Marin fulfilled his lifelong dream twice by saving comrades from human oppression, making him totally worthy. Ren summons his wind spirit Sylph. Instantly, Marin feels a massive gust of wind aggressively swirling all around him. He watches the wind wrap around his bare hand, wondering if this invisible energy is true spirit power. Ren reveals humans used to kidnap elves not just for beauty, but to steal this blessing, despite the elves fighting back fiercely. He adds that even after slavery ended, tons of freed elves took their own lives from the trauma. Green light gathers in his hands as Ren admits elves never forget. Even those who made it home suffered until choosing death instead. He openly confesses his pure hatred for those humans, swearing he'd slaughter them all if he only had the chance. Ren channels even more power while talking. The wind spirit's raw energy blasts from his hands in a blinding stream. Marin gets completely engulfed in the surging wind as the magical blessing transfers. A system notification pops up. Marin just unlocked the wind attribute via Sylph, adding wind to his current fire affinity. He stares at it in total surprise. But Ren warns him he still hates humans as vile, selfish monsters. One blessing doesn't mean he's forgiven Marin for being human. Then the next day at the Hexam Guild, a brand new chapter of their adventure kicks off. Inside, Ren and the Beastkin girl happily wave Marin over the second he walks in. Ren says they finally hired a Beastkin babysitter for her siblings so the squad can start taking quests again. She excitedly shouts that it's her very first day as a free citizen and she is hyped. She proudly shows off a quest targeting a crystal cave monster called Mud Doll. Ren panics, but she insists it's totally safe for an S-rank party. You know exactly what Marin's thinking. A slime-like mud monster. He's definitely wondering if he can eat it. Ren nervously catches on to Marin's weird food cravings, while the Beastkin girl completely focuses on securing a carriage. Walking through town, Ren asks if she even researched the other cave monsters. She casually promises to explain everything on the ride. She's also planning to buy a real home for her siblings after this quest, hating that they live in an inn. Reaching the pickup spot, the crew is stunned to find a ridiculously luxurious carriage just waiting there. Ren points out how crazy expensive that ride looks, and the Beastkin girl swears she never ordered anything like it. Armed escorts suddenly surround them, and a guard calls out to Ren. A familiar smirking merchant steps out of the carriage, claiming he's glad he made it. Hearing that voice, the Beastkin girl starts shaking. It's her cruel former master stepping right out into the daylight. Marin bluntly demands to know why he's here since their slave deal was completely finished. The slimy merchant claims he realized how much he missed her, finally appreciating her true value. He actually proposes to renegotiate and buy his slave back. Marin is just silently stunned by the absolute audacity. Ren furiously rejects it. And that's where we leave it. Trust me, you'll want to see what happens next. Stick with me, you are about to see this smug merchant act like he still owns her. She growls, but he just flexes. His heavily armed bodyguards are level 80 plus, totally ready to crush our party if they get mad. Our main character Marin gets called out, pausing to hear whatever garbage this guy is selling. 100 gold to buy her back. Marin instantly says no. The rich guy just freezes, totally shocked his cash got swatted away. Arrogant as ever, he asks if the price is too low. Calling her worthless, yeah, that instantly pisses off Ren. The dude bumps it to 150, then 160 gold. Marin still hitting him with a hard no. The Beastkin girl snaps back. She shouts Marin would not sell her even for 100 million gold. Snarling like a dog, the merchant asks if they know her market value, slamming 200 gold on the table. Dollar signs literally dance in Marin's head. He hesitates, getting furiously scolded by Ren before nervously claiming it was just a joke. Marin spells it out clearly. The slave papers were burned, her freedom is completely locked in, and she is officially nobody's property anymore. Business is over. And he drops a cold warning: if this trash ever messes with her again, there will be serious consequences. Gritting his teeth, the loser calls them pathetic fools playing at friendship. Now pay attention, because this is where the guy makes his biggest mistake yet. He actually sneers, saying he will not give up the sick joy of torturing his former slave. Boom, a brutal fist to the face. Blood sprays everywhere as the Beastkin girl knocks him flat, yelling that she could not stand there quietly, listening to his cruel garbage for another second. Radiating a massive dark aura, she stands over him. She is free and makes sure to insult his pathetic existence. One of those elite guards rushes in absolutely furious. A former slave just threw hands. But Marin instantly teleports behind the guy, mocking him for pulling a blade so recklessly. Pure, overwhelming strength. Marin just slams the armored dude face first into the dirt. The second guard charges, raging for a fight. Marin casually grabs a rock. Channeling raw power, he leaps into the air and spikes the guard weapon first into the dirt with absolute explosive force. The shocked guard crashes hard. Game over. You and I both knew that was coming, but man, the merchant's absolute horror at his level 80 guards getting smoked never gets old. Shaking like a leaf, he asks for Marin's level. The casual reply, "Oh, just around level 95. Even Ren and the girl are completely floored by how broken he is. Grabbing her old master by the hair, she announces their business is officially over. His agonizing screams echo all across the entire courtyard. Ren chimes in, saying they need to hurry or they will miss their ride out of here. She happily nods. The lesson is completely finished, leaving the broken merchant just moaning weakly in the dirt. Stretching with a huge smile, she admits punching him felt amazing, warning him to never show up again. Ren grumbles about filthy humans. Meanwhile, the battered rich guy swears these mere adventurers will pay once his merchant guild hears this. Bathed in a terrifying red light, Marin steps up. He admits his killer reputation already makes finding a good party incredibly annoying. Cold as ice, he decides crushing an entire merchant guild is way easier than losing friends, warning the dude to back off. Then Marin casually stomps the carriage wheel. Boom! The luxury carriage violently shatters into splinters behind the crying merchant. Marin calls it a simple warning and tells him to remember his place. Fast forward to a glowing crystal cave where the squad is busy exploring. Surrounded by muddy Madorf monsters, Ren yells they are weak to fire. The girl excitedly charges up a spicy fire technique. She rips a massive, completely chaotic fire tornado spell, leaving Marin speechless. Ren immediately scolds her messy technique. She just laughs, joking that being locked up did not give her much practice time. After the fight, Marin literally cooks the mud monster into purple mush. His friends panic, asking if that is actually edible since they cannot heal him. Marin notices the weird dish has zero smell, so he decides to risk a bite. Classic anime logic here, no dirt smell means it might not taste like actual dirt, right? So he takes a big bite. Big mistake. It tastes like gum-flavored clay, with the worst texture ever, proving not all monster meat is a 5-star meal. Defeated, he goes back to the god-tier harpy fried chicken. He is checking his status menu when the girl finally walks over. She gives him a proper heartfelt thank you for saving her family, promising to somehow earn enough cash to repay him. Marin brushes it off. She needs that money for her brothers, so she owes him absolutely nothing despite the crazy amount spent. And that is where we leave it. But first, she nervously asks Ren if he literally did illegal poaching to get that crazy amount of gold. Stick with me. Marin quickly waves it all off. He admits he finally sold an old comrade's keepsake. He kept it for years, but ultimately felt it was time to let it go. She gets totally upset, asking why he would trade an irreplaceable treasure just for money. Even if she repays him, it's gone. Marin simply brushes it off. He smiles and calls them his real comrades now. If they really want to pay him back, they just need to keep adventuring right by his side. Deeply touched, Ren and the Beastkin girl happily agree. They are beyond grateful just to have Marin as their amazing party leader. The cat girl promises to stop sulking and step up again. Then she casually asks Dahlia about his long history and the special blessing he gave Marin. Dahlia explains they have been friends for about as long as he has known her. That blessing, basically just the absolute bare minimum price of their contract. She brutally teases Dahlia for caring about a guy whose face he has never even seen. Then she turns to Marin, wondering why that heavy helmet never comes off. Marin quietly replies that he has his own personal reasons. Totally confused by her sudden weird behavior, he asks what she is doing while she eagerly tries guessing what is hiding under there. She randomly guesses he is hiding a massive scar, but Dahlia immediately scolds her. You just do not pry into a comrade's secret personal business. She awkwardly stammers that scars are basically adventurer badges of honor. But Dahlia points out that Marin hides way too much. When people show interest, it just means they want to be closer friends. He really needs to open up just a bit. Marin goes dead silent, visibly conflicted behind that cold metal. Now pay close attention here. Bam! Something violently smashes his helmet, shattering the crystal wall and sending Marin flying backward through the air. The team spins around in pure shock. A terrifying lizard-like monster crawls right out of the shattered crystals, an ugly beast known as a crystal tail. With a brutal strike, the monster's horn shatters completely, sending blood spraying everywhere. The cat girl leaps into action and savagely finishes the beast off. Panicking, she sprints back to Marin, gently lifting his heavy head to check if he is alive. Dahlia stares at Marin's exposed eye slot and freezes in sheer horror. He screams that jagged crystal shards are lodged inside his eye. Blood is literally dripping down. Marin stubbornly insists his vision is fine and it was just a scratch. But Dahlia yells back with that much blood pouring out his eye is definitely ruined. The cat girl frantically orders him to take the helmet off right now. Treating that nasty wound is way more important than keeping up his mysterious act. She loudly adds that if his eye is seriously busted, they have to run to the temple immediately. I know what you're thinking. A dark memory hits him, terrified adventurers calling him a literal monster. In the flashback, his old companion screams for everyone to run away. Snapping back to reality, Marin totally panics, shouting at Dahlia and the cat girl to back off. Completely taken aback by this outburst, Dahlia asks if he seriously hates showing his face. Clutching his helmet in pure distress, Marin quietly admits that he does. Inside, his mind is screaming for them to stop, looking absolutely terrified of being fully exposed. Dahlia softens his tone, saying they understand he is reluctant, but they absolutely need to inspect the injury properly to save his eyesight. Marin, stubborn as always, repeats that he is fine. The shard barely grazed him, and his eyesight is perfectly normal. Dahlia is still worried sick, but Marin reminds them of his high stats. A weak level 30 crystal tail cannot possibly cause fatal damage. Marin swears he is totally fine and urgently pushes them to just finish the subjugation mission. Dahlia and the cat girl trade super uneasy looks but eventually give in. Dahlia finally agrees, but makes Marin promise not to push himself while he gets healed. He demands Marin speak up if it hurts, and sincerely apologizes for forcing the helmet issue. Marin apologizes too for snapping so aggressively, and the team finally makes peace. Later on at the guild, they proudly report the Mad Door subjugation quest is officially complete. The staff praises them for pulling off such a tough job. The receptionist immediately senses some weird tension. She asks if something bad happened, but the cat girl awkwardly laughs it off and denies everything. While Dahlia waits, the cat girl whispers to Marin, asking one last time if he really wants to skip the temple. He just gives a quiet nod. Exhausted, Dahlia suggests they call it a day and rest up to monitor Marin's injured eye. The cat girl agrees and suggests hitting the inn, but suddenly a panicked guild messenger bursts through the doors screaming about an absolute emergency. Everyone surrounds the breathless runner. She nervously stammers that something insanely serious just went down outside. She reveals a massive new open-type dungeon just spawned in the forest between Adorama and the capital, and the dungeon name is about to drop. Marin overhears the title, The Dryad's Flower Garden. Hearing the word dryad makes him quietly mutter to himself in sheer shock. Dahlia is completely blown away by the sudden dungeon spawn. The cat girl stays rational. With many pro parties around, the guild can easily handle this mess. Let's just go rest at the inn. But Marin cuts in, demanding they fight. His friends are completely shocked, no resting. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens next. Alright, stick with me here, he says. He is fine, but actually has a wild theory to confirm. The scene immediately shifts to the dense forest hiding the new dungeon. Tons of adventurer parties crowd around the dungeon entrance while a leader calls everyone over for a serious conquest briefing. Two guys gossip that the dungeon's first explorer got completely destroyed by the boss and is stuck at the temple. Plus, rumors say there are 2 dryad bosses. Marin remembers dryads are plant monsters and gets super excited. He actually starts wondering if they would make good salad ingredients or tasty pickles. The catgirl panics and warns Dahlia that if Marin starts eating monsters in front of everyone, their party reputation is going straight into the trash. Dahlia just laughs and jokes that they should probably pretend they do not know him. Meanwhile, Marin remembers Dahlia is vegetarian and decides to finally cook something nice for him. He promises a very special dish, but Dahlia awkwardly rejects the totally unnecessary menu idea. During the briefing, they officially confirm the dungeon really has 2 bosses waiting. The commander admits their numbers are pretty low for this, but confidently tells everyone there is absolutely no need to worry. A super flashy elf named Anchorman steps up. Boasting a provisional hero title, he proudly claims their whole operation is perfectly safe. Dahlia looks super skeptical, while Marin gets confused by the hero title. Dahlia is completely shocked that Forest Boy Marin knows even less about the world than he does. Dahlia explains that hero is just a respectful title for those given provisional hero status, even though their intense aura actually terrifies a lot of people. He adds that whenever heroes appear, it supposedly foreshadows the grand return of the Demon King. Legend says that monsters naturally gathering around heroes is a huge sign predicting the resurrection of the Demon King, the absolute ruler of monsters. Dahlia mentions that nations and guilds give heroes VIP treatment, hoping they fight the Demon King. He adds that heroes are heavily admired. He then quickly uses appraisal to check out Anchorman. The appraisal shows Anchorman is a high-level warrior holding tons of dungeon breaker titles and provisional hero status. Dahlia is genuinely impressed by his clear achievements. Dahlia notes he saw a hero a long time ago. He mentions out of 5 discovered heroes, the second one has already been completely wiped out. He remembers the 4th hero was also killed by a monster, leaving only 3 left alive. Marin stays totally quiet, feeling the heavy weight of that explanation. Now watch carefully because things get crazy here. As they enter, massive flying wasps attack and the squad gets ordered to block the main force. Dahlia instantly draws his bow, blasting the wasps with fast wind-imbued arrows. His arrows perfectly slice multiple wasps, sending gross green fluid everywhere. Meanwhile, the catgirl gets up close, brutally punching and slashing the bugs to pieces. Marin jumps right in, slicing down even more wasps with sweeping strikes. Other adventurers notice the flawless teamwork of Havoc and admit this party is way stronger than their weird name suggests. Hearing the praise, the catgirl happily twitches her cute little ears. She smugly brags that their party name is getting famous, but Dahlia tells her to stay focused. They pull out a map and quickly explain the full battle plan. The hero and a B-rank party will fight the 2 bosses separately. Havoc just needs to block all the extra monsters from ruining the fight. Suddenly, one of the Dryad bosses drops in, showing off some massive level 58 monster stats. The B-rank party is totally sweating, terrified of losing face against a single Dryad. They plan to stall their Dryad until Anchorman wins. Meanwhile, Anchorman rushes his own Dryad, swinging a bright glowing sword to show off his raw power. Feeling super confident, he wants to end this fight instantly. He rushes the Dryad for a decisive strike. Anchorman unleashes a wild flurry of slashes, visibly damaging and staggering the huge Dryad. Everyone watches in awe as the hero solos a massive boss. Anchorman totally soaks up all the hype for his insane strength. I know what you are thinking, bad idea. The Dryad radiates violent power while he assumes finishing it ends the job. The B-rank party hears the Dryad screaming and assumes it is crying for its partner. They figure once the hero shows up, victory will be incredibly easy. But suddenly the solid ground shatters right beneath their feet. The furious Dryad goes completely berserk, spawning massive roots and huge tremors. The B-rank members panic as giant vines grab and drag them away. Feeling the massive energy spike, Marin recognizes the reaction. He suspects this dungeon actually forces you to kill both bosses at the exact same time. He figures out the trap demands simultaneous defeat of both bosses, making their current situation an absolute nightmare. A brand new terrifying plant monster emerges, the actual master of the Garden of the Dryad. So, what do we learn here? Do not anger a level 70 monster born from pure partner grief. Alright, let's jump right into the chaos. Dahlia screams about the monster while Marin yells at everyone to fall back immediately. Anchorman shouts that the boss just hit level 70. With their current stats, he claims it is an absolute suicide mission. He bravely offers to buy them time to escape even as a trapped party member begs to be cut from the vines. But while yelling for backup, this so-called hero complains. Internally, he curses their trash levels, calling them totally useless. He remembers buying secret dungeon intel from the Thieves Guild, stuff like having to kill both bosses at the exact same time. Anchorman actually held back info on purpose to look good. He blames them for blindly trusting his words without checking the facts. Striking a dramatic pose, he says, "Now then." Ready to steal the spotlight, he promises a true hero ending and starts casting a massive light-based technique. Before he can flex, the boss casts a massive curse. His skills get completely locked out for 10 straight minutes. He panics, shocked. The boss has curse attacks that were not in his intel. Vines suddenly wrap around him. He panics, wondering when he was targeted. The helpless hero gets thrown around like a rag doll by the massive vines before getting slammed brutally face first into the dirt. He hopelessly struggles trying to convince himself it is just one vine to cut. But as he tries fighting back, the boss towers over him. Things are looking terrible. Completely crushed and severely injured, Anchorman groans in pure pain. The others see their hero get trashed and instantly call for a full retreat. The raid is officially a complete disaster. Now watch closely. Marin realizes the death toll will be huge if he does nothing, watching the raging boss chase the runners. Deciding to step up, he charges his incredible sword aura. Trying to calculate how much power to hide, he rushes right at the massive plant monster, his blade shining with intense energy. With terrifying strength, his sword slices clean into the dryad. The strike forms a huge arc, literally tearing the boss apart. He dashes through and the whole battlefield explodes into smoke and flying debris. When the dust settles, the dryad is chopped into pieces and Marin just stands there casually. Everyone is stunned that he one-shotted a level 70 boss. Meanwhile, Marin feels a bit awkward, muttering to his spirit Rhea as leaves rain down. Staring at the massive crater and broken trees, he sheepishly admits he really went way overboard. A system pop-up suddenly grants him the Dryad's Garden Conqueror title. He acts like it is no big deal. Funny enough, this is the exact title Anchorman wanted, making it Marin's first time getting something so rare. Dahlia and the Catgirl sprint right over, shouting his name. Later, the Catgirl happily hypes up his insane attack that leveled the whole area. Dahlia jokes that he totally just wanted to flex his stats, though Marin strongly denies trying to show off. He turns around as more people approach, awkwardly accepting their grateful thanks. You and I know he is overpowered, and the B-rank party finally sees it, too shocked that this beast belongs to a simple C-rank guild. They thank Havoc for blocking the Wasps, mind blown that Marin clapped the boss that destroyed the hero. Naturally, our guy just acts super humble. Nearby, some guys whisper nervously. They start spreading rumors that Marin is the creepy monster-eating kinslayer, wondering if staying near him is basically a death wish. Dahlia and the Catgirl shoot absolute death glares at the haters. Dahlia coldly asks if insulting saviors is normal human culture. While the Catgirl steps up absolutely furious, they dare disrespect Marin. She threatens to rip their ears off if they stay. Terrified, the guys run away, talking about tossing salt to clear the bad vibes. Over in the dirt, party members nervously help the battered Anchorman stand back up. Boiling with rage, Anchorman obsesses over how a low-tier C-rank completely one-shotted the giant boss. He is furious about losing the title, and hates that his appraisal cannot even read Marin's level. He glares, swearing he will make Marin pay for it. Time passes, bringing us right back to a peaceful day. A spiky green shell cracks open, revealing a giant chestnut inside. Marin just chills at a table, totally surrounded by a mountain of empty shells. After painfully cracking so many open, he proudly smiles, ready to cook up the insides like an absolute master chef. Admiring the raw, glossy chestnuts, he smiles at their huge size, totally convinced they are a premium quality variety. A quick flashback shows he actually looted these bad boys straight off a treant monster walking home from the dungeon. That is where we leave it for now. Excited to eat monster food, he casually explains the first step of peeling the hard shells. Stick with me, we are about to watch some wild monster cooking. He carefully peels the thin skin, boiling the chestnuts halfway. Catching them right before they overcook, he pulls them out and quickly preps another pot with sugar water. He blasts the heat, reducing it into a thick, glossy syrup. The second those chestnuts are perfectly cooked, he tosses them right in. He sautés the whole batch, basting them constantly so that sweet syrup coats everything evenly. Hitting that perfect sweet spot, he slams a lid on the pot. He explains that letting them cool forces the sauce deep inside the ingredients. You repeat this cooldown process a few times for maximum flavor. And boom, he proudly presents the final masterpiece, a gorgeous tray of Marin glace. Just look at those gleaming chestnut sweets on that plate. Marin is absolutely hyped about that shiny sugar glaze and the chunky size. Wondering how monster fruit actually tastes, he opens wide and takes a massive bite of the dessert. The flavor hits him like a truck and he screams. In pure bliss, he realizes those endless syrup layers amplified the sweetness. Soft, chewy, and honestly just as emotional as eating high-tier chocolate. No way he can hoard something this legendary. He instantly decides he has to share it. Woken up by all the noise, Dahlia walks in holding a full plate of those sweets casually, noting that Marin is cooking up monsters again. Marin defends himself, claiming it is technically fruit, so anyone can eat it. Dahlia completely ignores his logic, sighing and asking where Emotar went. The Catgirl pops up, explaining that Emotar hates sweets anyway. Plus, her little brothers are passed out asleep, so no midnight snacks for them. So by default, Marin gets to share this epic dessert, mostly with Dahlia. Now, pay attention. The elf warrior gets pressured into eating this shiny monster fruit, hesitating completely. Annoyed but low-key touched by all the cooking effort, he caves in just this once. He takes a tiny, hesitant bite of the glazed fruit. Bam, his eyes practically bulge out as the flavor hits. His mind is completely blown. How could a monster drop be this incredibly soft and sweet? It pairs perfectly with the rich syrup, making absolutely zero logical sense. When asked if it tastes good, he instantly blushes aggressively, claiming he was only startled by the sugar. Still secretly savoring every single bite, he compliments that rich autumn flavor. He asks what it is, learning the name is Marin. Sitting across from the armored human, he grumbles about naming desserts after people. Then he gets asked a simple question: does he like sweets? Getting defensive, he explains, his master basically trained him to completely crush his appetite, forcing him to avoid even sweet strawberries back home. Thinking about his hardcore master, he proudly mentions she still leads the entire forest guard as their captain. Just as he names his master Rose, the armored man suddenly grabs his hand. Hearing that name and the mention of pink hair, Marin absolutely freezes in shock. Out of nowhere, the armored man perfectly describes the signature spear of Rose and her water powers. This completely freaks Dahlia out, demanding to know how on earth he knows that. The armored guy immediately asks to visit the home forest tomorrow morning. Cut to their arrival at the legendary Azura Great Forest on the central continent. The armored man steps deep into the woods. Standing fully geared among these massive trees, memories flood back. He vividly remembers taking a sketchy joint quest with an elf a long time ago. That specific elf actually fought with a spear instead of a bow, and happened to be his wizard buddy's absolute best friend back then. I know what you are thinking. Yes, looking back, he realizes this spear-wielding powerhouse was actually Dahlia's master all along. Walking forward, he thinks about grilling Dahlia to confirm the identity of Rose, sweating bullets over whether she even remembers him after all these years. Suddenly, he spots a familiar pink-haired elf, and she locks eyes with him. Gripping her spear, Rose immediately turns to face the intruder. She glares at this massive helmeted human, confirming he is the guy asking for a meeting. Sternly, Rose orders him to drop a name. The armored man almost introduces himself as Marin, but stops himself halfway. Instead, he drops his old name Charlotte, greeting her after a literal lifetime apart. A soft, nostalgic smile actually creeps onto her lips. She straight up bursts out laughing, swearing she has not heard the name Charlotte in centuries. Cheerfully, she asks how he has been doing. He lets out a huge sigh of relief that she remembers. But as he steps forward, something totally off about his movement triggers her instincts. Whoosh! Danger spikes instantly as Rose snaps her spear blade right against his throat, aggressively demanding to know his real identity. She fiercely accuses him of faking the identity of her old friend. Sweating, he admits that yeah, a human named Charlotte existed 100 years ago, so logically that guy should be totally dead by now. Still completely suspicious, Rose challenges him to prove it by dropping the exact nickname she used for him. Behind that heavy visor, he stays completely silent. Flashback time. A way younger Charlotte coldly rejects a party invitation, being politely called Mr. Charlotte by the squad. In the memory, the desperate party hypes up his insane shield skills, begging him to join. Charlotte refuses and leaves, but the wizard chases him. That is where we leave it. Trust me, you want to see what happens next. Stick with me here. This elf and wizard keep annoying our guy about meeting other races. The wizard reminds him he wanted to meet non-humans anyway, proudly presenting Charlotte to his best elf buddy Rose. Rose thinks humans outside the forest are total elf fanatics, staring in absolute disbelief at this weird introduction. They shake hands and swap names, but Rose decides Charlotte's full name is way too dramatic, so she just picks a shorter nickname. Back in the present, Rose suddenly remembers calling him Charlo. It totally clicks. She sizes up his build and voice against her old memories, even though he definitely does not look like an old human man. Charlotte points out he was only 15 back then. He proves it by dropping hard facts about the wizard Carl, his embarrassing taste in girls, and those crazy fan letters. Embarrassed, Charlotte cuts her off from exposing his past. Rose just stares, reassessing him. She realizes his quiet vibe and gentle voice match perfectly. She has no idea how, but Rose finally accepts that this guy is her old friend Charlotte. She tells him to follow her inside. There is something she needs to double-check. Inside, his helmeted face reflects perfectly in the cup of tea she serves. In her cabin, Rose apologizes for the mess, saying it is just a place to crash. Charlotte tells her it is totally fine. Outside, we see she lives completely alone in this forest entrance cabin, just to handle security easier. Charlotte notices Rose has not aged a bit in a century. She asks why he will not take off his helmet. Watch closely. He says he has his reasons, so Rose asks to see his bare hand. He slowly pulls back his sleeve. Grabbing his hand, she realizes he has not aged at all. As an elf, she expects to outlive humans, but his time is totally frozen. Charlotte asks, super hopeful, if their wizard friend Carl is still alive without aging too. Rose drops the sad truth: Carl is dead. She is the only survivor from their old party. She points out that 100 years have passed. It is totally normal that her human friends are gone. She admits she always figured all of them, Charlotte included, were long dead. Rose explains she quit adventuring early, moved back here, and only got updates through Carl's occasional letters. Then Carl's letters suddenly stopped. 20 whole years later, she found out something terrible went down. Charlotte narrates that Rose's party Romania vanished without a single trace. Mercenaries disappearing is normal, but this was massive news everywhere. A top-tier party vanishing without a trace became a huge topic, and honestly, Charlotte completely refused to believe it back then. Rose says over the years, she completely gave up hope of hearing from them again. She admits seeing him alive is more shocking than happy, bluntly demanding to know how he has not aged a day in 100 years. Charlotte prepares to drop the truth. He asks if she remembers their final quest and that crazy rare reward item he got from their last job together. He means the skill book Arachnophobia, which dropped after they took down the Spider Queen, Regina Arania. We see younger, armored Charlotte holding his sword right after that epic boss victory. Rose remembers perfectly, she even used her appraisal skill on it. Charlotte then drops the bomb that book kept him alive. But get this, he adds, it is also the exact reason his comrades died. Now pay attention. We flash back to the peaceful forest sky before the tragedy where monstrous red-eyed goblins ambush their party. The group snaps right back, destroying the goblins with heavy spear strikes. The archer and mage start panicking. These things are way more monstrous than the basic goblins they expected to fight. Carl yells for everyone to stay calm. He orders Charlotte to hold the front line while Charlotte blocks a furious attack with his shield. The archer shouts she has a clear shot, telling Charlotte to keep the monsters locked down. She unleashes a glowing barrage of arrows onto the goblins. Carl and the mage yell that their big attacks are ready too. The mage drops a massive fire spell, completely roasting the goblins in flames. After the fight, Carl asks if Charlotte has ever seen mutated goblins like this. Charlotte says no. The archer complains the job info was totally wrong, but Carl jokes they can just demand extra pay. But then Carl decides it is too sketchy. He says grab a corpse for proof and retreat. The mage looks super anxious, definitely realizing how messed up this situation actually is. You and I know this means trouble. A cloaked figure suddenly appears, furious they destroyed his precious mutant creations. Alright, stick with me. We are about to watch a subjugation quest go horribly wrong. The archer challenges this rogue stranger and Carl's party forms up behind Charlotte's raised shield. Sensing serious danger, Carl tells everyone to brace for the absolute worst. Carl officially declares them as the authorized adventurers for this mission, demanding the sketchy stranger identify himself. The hooded dude casually complains that time works differently for him. He whines that they just destroyed his precious test subjects while his master was out. The archer panics, realizing those twisted goblins were actually his science experiments. Things are looking bad. The stranger sighs, revealing he was busy with a very sacred ritual. He pulls back his hood, exposing a terrifying scaled reptilian face. He scolds the mere humans, leaving Charlotte stunned that this race even exists. Knowing something is horribly off, Carl uses appraisal. The result? Pure shock. This guy is from the dragon race. Boom! In a flash, Charlotte gets blasted backward by pure overwhelming force, shattering his shield instantly as the squad watches the explosive impact in horror. Charlotte ends up completely bloodied, pinned violently against a tree while his team screams his name. The dragon laughs, mocking the humans for interrupting his ritual, deciding they make perfect sacrifices. The party leader yells for battle formations, frantically ordering the mage Damien to heal Charlotte right now. Now, pay attention here. The dragon fakes being polite, telling these insignificant beings they deserve to know who kills them. He introduces himself as the supposedly wise gold dragon. Damien totally loses his mind hearing it is a dragon while the archer screams at him to stay focused. Damien realizes Charlotte got taken out in one single hit. This is a real literal dragon. He desperately tries to prep a blinding magic spell to retreat, but a bloody claw suddenly erupts straight through his chest. The dragon teleports behind Damien, mocking his pathetic human magic as Rose screams in pure terror. Furious, the archer fires her bow, calling him a monster. A blur of motion and she is dead too. Carl narrates that the chaos was blinding and deafening. Reality finally sinks in. They are fighting an actual true dragon. Horrified, Rose assumes they are all going to be butchered. She notes that by some absolute miracle, Damien and Carl are still breathing. She figures if Damien can pull off wide area healing magic, they might survive. She just needs to buy time. Deciding to act as bait, she bravely confronts the monstrous dragon, demanding to know what he wants and why he is even here. The dragon replies his soul's deepest desire is resurrecting the Demon King. As the so-called wise gold dragon, he explains humanity is pure filth. To purify the world, he just needs to wipe them out completely. He mentions someone else who devoted their entire life to crushing humans with the exact same goal, the Demon King. He reveals this whole sacred ritual is just to grant that person's wish and revive him. The dragon blushes, confessing he fell completely in love with that powerful individual. I know what you are thinking. A dragon wanting to marry the Demon King. Yep, he prepares this ritual to become the Demon King's consort. Declaring himself the love-crazed mad dragon, he puts his absolute lunacy on full display. Carl thinks this guy has completely lost his mind, but happily uses the rant to buy time. He is inches away from finishing a wide-area healing spell ready to teleport everyone to safety. Right as he braces himself, the dragon yawns, saying he is too busy for games. Suddenly, an earth spike brutally impales Damien mid-cast. Damien gets lifted and skewered. The dragon laughs, mocking him for thinking sneaky magic would go unnoticed. Screaming in pure desperation, Rose charges from behind, but the dragon just twitches a bloody finger, channeling a wave of ominous magic. A blast of purple energy slams Rose down, completely devastating her. Hovering on huge demonic wings, the dragon chuckles, calling them little insects perfect for his new test subjects. Heavily bleeding, Charlotte finally realizes they cannot win a frontal assault. They are entirely doomed at this pace. He remembers his arachnophobia skill book. He figures popping that crazy skill might just buy them a split second to escape. Clenching his fist, he makes his choice. He activates arachnophobia, unleashing the terrifying skill. A glowing system message announces the assimilation debuff is active. Then a severed armored arm hits the dirt as the buff violently drops. That bloody arm drops right into a massive spreading spiderweb, making someone gasp in pure shock. Cut to the present. Under the moonlight, a long-haired person wakes up in a forest, completely confused about what just happened. A skull literally rolls across a bone-littered battlefield. A white-haired spider-woman just stares, totally speechless. She looks around, realizing she is surrounded by human corpses, including a half-eaten knight. The knight gasps at the carnage. A glowing status window pops up. Trust me, you and I will want to see what happens next. You and I are diving into pure chaos. The system brands her kinslayer, leaving her stunned. Absolute horror hits her. Did she actually slaughter every human here? Her giant spider leg lightly taps a severed arm, and right there, a glowing bracelet. A system window pops up. It is a super rare item that wipes out status debuffs once every hour. She immediately recognizes this curing accessory. Putting the pieces together, she realizes something massive about her own condition. Checking her skill description, the dark truth drops. Turning into Arachne literally forced her mind to merge completely with pure monster instincts. She connects the dots. That glowing bracelet shattered the monster's control and woke her. Checking a dead body's stats, she freezes. It belonged to an insanely powerful Holy Knight hero. Staring down at the main hero's lifeless body, pure panic sets in. She just slaughtered humanity's greatest hope. Game over. Her last memory was fighting a massive dragon. What happened to her party? The camera zooms in, her eyes blowing wide as a terrible new thought strikes. Her spider legs slowly creep toward a fallen staff, holding a glowing blue crystal. Flashback time. We see her terrifying spider form finding that exact same crystal in the ruined battlefield. Back in the present, the elf drops a heavy truth on our helmeted girl. By the time she woke up, an entire century had passed. Carlos and her old crew, long gone. Watch closely here because this hurts. Shaking, she confesses she has no idea how many she killed, carrying that nightmare alone for a whole century. The elf looks at her softly, saying he knows just how unbearable that must have been. He reassures her. She fought a literal dragon and used a mystery skill to save her squad. Nobody can blame her for failing when she put her own life on the line. He says sorry for reopening old wounds. But she shakes it off. His words actually help her realize why she managed to survive this long. She remembers him asking why she never takes off that heavy helmet. She finally starts explaining, pulling from those dark, blurry memories of the last century. Another flashback hits. She remembers people screaming, calling her a total monster when they saw her transformed face. After living 100 years as a beast, she fully believed her real human face was permanently ruined too. After waking up and dropping the monster form, she thought about visiting the Kapil temple for holy purification. But the sad truth, she admits she was way too terrified to show her face without checking it first. The elf gently asks if she told this dark story to her younger brother Dahlia yet. Her answer, a flat no. She is terrified that if her new squad sees her hideous face, their friendship is completely over. Game over. The elf gives some solid advice. Do not show the whole world yet, just start by revealing her true face to the teammates she actually trusts. He breaks it down. She isn't scared of her own looks, but of how they will react. Getting their approval is the only way she will ever accept herself. Squeezing her hands together nervously, she confesses she still does not completely trust them yet. He reminds her they are her teammates, gently implying she really needs to trust them eventually. You and I both know this is true. Smiling, he says she will have to trust them fully one day, just like the two of them do right now. After a quiet pause, she finally resolves to try. He flashes a warm, gentle smile, totally approving of her new courage. Changing the subject, he asks why Dahlia calls her Marin. Blushing sheepishly, she admits she literally stole the fake name from a jar of Marin's chestnuts. Cue the flashback. A villager asks for her name, and she nervously blurts out Marin. The elf busts out laughing. She defends herself, explaining she changed it because her real name might be on a massive wanted list. Curious, he asks about her life lately. She explains that with her old mercenary squad completely wiped out, she became an adventurer. She ended up meeting the beastmen Emotar and Dahlia, forming a brand new party. The elf points out she has gotten surprisingly cheerful, proving even immortal elves can change over time. The two old friends shake hands, promising to meet up way sooner next time. They part ways in the quiet forest, the elf playfully calling her Marin as he waves goodbye. Watching him go, she realizes something. He believes in his teammates, but they definitely believe in him way more. Walking off, the narration drops the truth. It is all up to Marin now. Walking alone, she seriously wonders, will she ever have the guts to show her real face to Dahlia and Emotar? Staring at the sunset, she thinks about time passing, wondering if she can finally change too. Night slowly covers the peaceful town. Cut to the inn. Emotar fiercely punches the table, loudly raging that the current hero is completely unbearably annoying. Marin and Dahlia walk in, totally confused by all the screaming. Emotar starts venting that stupid hero literally stole every single good quest off the guild board this morning. It gets worse. He falsely accused her of breaking guild rules until she completely proved his smug face wrong. Flashback to the guild. This incredibly arrogant hero smugly snatches up every single quest sheet right before she grabs one. She remembers him totally talking down to her about the rules, so she shoved the hard evidence right in his face. The guy just played it off like a tiny mistake, flashing this fake, sparkling smile. Emotar is absolutely furious, wanting to beat his petty human face in. And honestly, you and I would probably want to punch him too. Stick with me here. Instead of doing his actual job, this so-called hero keeps stalking them. He picks these insanely childish fights, barely dodging guild rules. Emotar thinks he is looking down on Marin. Honestly, Marin agrees. The guy acts like a total toddler. Dahlia points out they aren't his only victims. The guy is just an absolute weirdo. Hearing this, Marin feels totally unsettled by the idea of a literal hero bullying people. Suddenly, he spots Beastman kids sneaking away. Confused Emotar screams at Marin to catch them. The little thieves are running off, munching roasted chestnuts and shouting about how sweet and delicious they are compared to corn. Emotar chases them down while Marin just watches in the background. She scolds them for eating off the ground, but they just beg for more. Meanwhile, Dahlia figures the stalker hero will get bored eventually, so they should just ignore him. Emotar grumbles that only total weirdos become heroes. Marin shyly brings up an old story Dahlia told about a fallen hero. He means the guy who was supposedly taken out by a monster. Dahlia quickly corrects him, he means the second hero who got killed. Dahlia speculates the real killer was the infamous first hero. Honestly, his unhinged personality totally fits the crime. But he takes it back. The first hero is a petty child, sure, but he lacks the guts for actual murder. Dahlia remembers his incredibly immature revenge pranks, completely ruling him out. He explains the official story. The second hero died in a tragic dungeon accident. The fallen hero wasn't weak at all, so Dahlia admits the official story is probably complete garbage. He hints at a dark rumor about the actual killer. Now pay close attention here. Rumor has it someone else was completely responsible. He drops a massive bombshell. The third hero actually murdered the second. A flashback reveals the second hero's lifeless body right on the palace floor. A cloaked figure with glowing eyes stands directly over the corpse. That is the utterly terrifying third hero. Marin is absolutely floored. A hero killing another hero, but the rumor stuck around because the evidence was just way too suspicious to ignore. Exactly on the day the second hero died, a massive lightning strike blasted the capital. But the sky was completely clear. People immediately suspected the lightning was magically forged. And guess what? The third hero's specialty is lightning magic. The third hero is shown wielding wild lightning. He is known as a dangerous, complete lunatic who violently zaps anyone who annoys him. Thanks to that insane temper, everyone avoids him like the plague. The capital officially pinned the death on random assassins. But everyone believes the third hero did it, and the kingdom just hushed it all up. Dahlia explains the public theory the second hero did not die fighting monsters. The third hero killed him, and the terrified kingdom absolutely covered it up. Emotar furiously snarls that she has never met a decent hero. She swears she will rip out the first hero's hair if she sees him. But Dahlia warns her, attacking a hero brings major national consequences. Thinking about the stalker's weird obsession with him, Marin suddenly remembers this hero actually holds tons of Dungeon First Clear titles. Look at all those clear titles on his status window. You and I are probably wondering the exact same thing. Does this guy feel totally robbed? Dahlia drops a wild theory. Becoming a hero requires getting at least one first clear title. Every single past hero shared this exact same trait. Emotar figures it out. The current hero is hoarding first clears just to stop new candidates like Marin from ever emerging. Dahlia completely agrees. The guy is definitely salty that Marin snatched the Dryad's Garden first clear, so now he is harassing their entire party out of pure spite. Totally confused, Marin wonders why having more hero candidates is even a bad thing. Is this guy just insanely overly proud of his shiny title? Meanwhile, the Beastman kids eyeball the chestnut bowl again. Someone off-screen just shrugs. Who knows what goes through a crazy hero's head? Emitar catches them, reaching for seconds, and furiously yells that she strictly forbade it. Marin falls completely silent. He suddenly remembers Rose's advice. Someday he will have to trust his comrades, just like he trusts her right now. Because honestly, no secret stays hidden forever. The day will definitely come when the heavy truth must finally be dragged into the light. Emitar plays boisterously with the happy kids. Yes, one day Marin will absolutely have to confess the real truth. Dahlia sits quietly nearby. Touching his helmet, Marin nervously wonders will his team still accept him if his hidden face turns out to be totally monstrous. Looking at the night sky, he admits he just doesn't know. Trust me, you will want to see them hit the Dimstone dungeon next. Boom, inside Emotar gets smacked hard by a thorny mutant slime. Its status window warns about some seriously nasty elastic spiked attacks. Dahlia desperately rushes in with his bow. He realizes way too late he completely misjudged this slime as a weak monster. Marin instantly enchants his sword with roaring flames to fight the beast. Wreathed in fire, he fearlessly charges straight into the chaos. Stick with me here because fighting this insanely weird slime might just mean the Demon King is back. Marin is sweating bullets. If the boss actually returns, they might face that exact same dragon. How would he even survive it this time? He looks at his current weaker squad. Comparing them to his old legendary party, he swears he will make a totally different choice. He violently shoves Dahlia aside, screaming at him to run. Marin takes the slime's brutal spikes directly. Blood goes flying everywhere. Dahlia screams orders at them. He tells Emitar to move unless she wants to get roasted. She charges up a massive fireball in her hand. She drops a gigantic explosion on that mutant slime. Right after she starts peeling gross slime off her shoulder while checking on everyone. Dahlia yells at her for zoning out about eating slimes. Marin says that is not the issue, suddenly freezing in total panic. He points out Dahlia's bleeding arm, but Dahlia just totally waves it off as nothing. Marin clenches his fist, hating himself for the injury. Why did Dahlia protect him? Emitar keeps healing, Dahlia looking super confused by Marin's sudden guilt. Now pay attention here. Marin argues an easy dungeon like this shouldn't have hurt him at all. He is the shield guy. He belongs in front. So why did the archer take the hit? Marin just awkwardly mutters about a bad feeling. Dahlia finally snaps back. He moved on pure instinct, because Marin is his true comrade. Emotar totally calls Dahlia out for acting tsundere. He angrily tells her to shut up and heal. Marin goes completely silent again. Soon their footsteps echo, leaving the dungeon. Emotar whispers that Marin is acting super weird since meeting Rose. He even apologized without making any excuses. Flashing back, Marin actually says sorry for Dahlia's injury and promises to stay totally focused. Walking through the forest, Emotar nervously asks Marin what happened, but she gets completely interrupted. Dahlia hears something approaching. He knows that creepy sound. Flashback to soldiers fighting a massive shadow. A knight gets slashed and screams in agony. The giant shadow wolf dominates the battlefield. Commanders scream to retreat, completely terrified by this absolutely massive monster. They panic about their carriage getting smashed without backup. The dark energy monster charges right in. A bleeding knight begs for his life. The beast lunges, but a massive strike hits it. The monster howls in agony as flames rip it apart. The soldiers are completely stunned. Dahlia taunts it, pulling aggro away from the troops. Emotar steps up, charging a golden punch. She slams her finishing blow straight down while Marin screams to end it. You saw that too, right? The beast violently explodes, and Emotar nearly gets swallowed whole. Marin steps up, slashing the dark aura away with one clean strike. The saved knight drops down, totally amazed by their crazy power. Marin awkwardly accepts the praise. A super relieved dwarf merchant thanks him. Marin just stares, realizing their client is a dwarf. The others run up, totally shocked that Marin actually helped a human. Wait, why help humans at all? A super arrogant knight yells at the dwarf for blocking the road. The poor dwarf just bows and apologizes. Dahlia and Emotar realize this dwarf is nobility. They immediately bow. He asks if they are the saviors. Marin is incredibly confused. He just blankly asks who this short guy actually is anyway. His team absolutely loses it, telling him to shut up. That casual little dwarf is a massive VIP. The armored gnome just totally brushes off the disrespect. She reveals herself as Allura Gnome, dwarf princess and master of gold. Night falls on the guild. Two guys realize that little kid was actually the dwarf princess. They better watch their mouths. A dwarf elder smugly says he knew she was not human. Just look at her build. The elf bluntly admits he would have just let the humans die. His friends remember his totally reckless hatred for humans. He asks where Emotar went. Turns out the party leader is stuck, reporting to the guild. They can picture her drowning in paperwork. The guild takes this princess escort mission seriously. The elf and armored guy admit it. The literal royal princess just looked like a normal kid. So what do you and I take from this? Don't judge a laughing kid, she might rule a kingdom. Stick with me here. Our knight is stunned that Lady Allura is a married mom. Meanwhile, the dwarf elder thanks the party for stopping disaster. He is super relieved. The city guard survived unharmed, knowing someone important would have completely panicked. Just then, a guild worker rushes back announcing the official incident paperwork is completely wrapped up. Immortal and the princess get the green light to leave. Lady Gnome begs the elf and knight for their names to always remember her saviors. They introduce themselves as Dahlia and Marlos, and she promises to never forget them. A guild staffer suddenly arrives to escort Lady Gnome to her carriage, getting her ready to leave. Waving goodbye, Lady Gnome playfully comments that small red things would totally suit the two of them. Dahlia asks about Immortal. Turns out the cat girl is stuck doing paperwork while the princess got VIP treatment. So yeah, our duo just has to wait around the guild. Hours pass, and night falls. Super bored, the guys start worrying that Immortal is taking way too long. Right on cue, Marin's stomach loudly growls for food. He unpacks supplies, making Dahlia suspicious about what weird meal he is cooking next. Marin reveals a vibrant bowl packed with greens and red berries. Shocked, Marin is actually eating plain vegetables. Dahlia is quickly offered a bowl too. He instantly refuses, completely paranoid that this salad is secretly made from dungeon monsters like Marin's usual terrifying dishes. But his empty stomach loudly betrays him. Embarrassed, he caves in and asks for a bite, figuring simple vegetables have to be perfectly safe. Smiling, Marin hands him a giant forkful of colorful veggies. You saw this coming, right? Dahlia tastes it, assuming Marin couldn't ruin a salad. Suddenly his eyes pop wide. The flavor is actually mind-blowing. Dahlia completely loses it, hyping up the fresh, zesty crunch and that perfect oil-based dressing. He calls it the greatest salad since leaving the elf forest. Happily munching away, he casually asks what the weirdly soft ingredient is. Marin calmly admits the soft pieces are slime. Horrified, Dahlia trembles, repeating in disbelief that he actually ate a slime. Marin casually shrugs, explaining he just lacked konjac ingredients. He experimented putting slime in desserts before settling on a safe salad. He promises the veggies are mostly normal, heavily implying a few cursed additions. Marin casually admits he dried and ground up a spicy dungeon monster called Pingu Pinu just for the seasoning. Dahlia absolutely screams, realizing this insane monster seasoning could make the food lethally spicy or have super weird side effects. Completely losing his mind, he grabs Marin by the collar, screaming about being tricked into eating monsters again. Marin argues Dahlia literally just praised the taste. Dahlia furiously yells back he had zero clue it contained actual monsters. Dahlia debates if slimes count as animals, swearing his issue isn't vegetarianism but eating literal freaking monsters. An exhausted Immortal finally returns, joking they have too much nighttime energy. They quickly ask how her guild meeting went. She groans about the massive mountain of paperwork she survived, making the guys realize they truly owe her big time. Smirking, Immortal proudly announces she just got promoted to a B-rank adventurer. Now pay attention. Flashback to the guild office. They face a massively muscular manager and Immortal confidently starts speaking. The Absolute Unit introduces himself as Vice Guildmaster Helion Hexalim, recognizing them as the chaotic squad that saved the dwarf princess. Looking right at her, he confirms the cat girl is indeed immortal. Helion hands over a shiny B-rank certification, telling her to keep it safe and fully expecting more epic, noteworthy achievements. Hyped, Immortal celebrates hitting B rank and instantly sets her sights on reaching A rank next. Dahlia warns her not to get cocky, but she jokes she might hit a rank way before him. Helion totally ruins the mood, asking if they even know how party ranks work. Yeah, party time is officially over. He drops the cold truth: a party's rank equals its weakest link. Since the boys are still C rank, the whole party stays C rank despite her promotion. Immortal declares they must quickly power level everyone to B rank, so the squad can aim for A rank together. Suddenly Marin shifts the tone. He asks Helion a burning question about the devastating dragon attack on a drama 80 years ago, mentioning the gold dragon. Helion just listens in dead silence, thoughtfully exhaling a cloud of smoke. Helion explains the tragedy happened before his birth. Still, he recalls constantly hearing just how insanely catastrophic the dragon attack actually was. Flashbacks show the burning city and suffering people, perfectly capturing the pure horror. They listen intensely to the grim history. Helion says a senior staffer named Daisy, the longest working guild employee, knows more. Daisy offers to lead them to the records room, and Marin thanks her. So where does that leave us? Once they leave, Helion reads a report, quietly murmuring Marin's name. Alright, stick with me here. Helion is totally baffled. How did someone this overpowered just spawn out of nowhere? Knowing Marin wants the gold dragon too, Helion decides to watch him closely. Down in the archives, Daisy asks why Marin even cares about the gold dragon, since she personally sorted all those old records. Marin gets straight to the point. Where exactly did the mad gold dragon go after the massive Adama attack? Daisy drops a bomb. According to the files, adventurers already killed it. We see this insane flashback of the dragon engulfed in flames as she describes its death. Marin just freezes, completely stunned that his target is supposedly already dead. He instantly rejects this. History says that Mad Dragon died a long time ago. Flashes of the orphans and fallen comrades hit him hard. He has been chasing revenge for years. If it is dead, what was his whole life, even for? Sitting alone in the dark, Marin questions everything. If that dragon is really gone, his entire quest means absolutely nothing. But then Daisy adds a twist. The official record is probably wrong. She explains the subjugation tag was basically just a guess based on the chaos at the time. She describes an epic clash where absolute oceans of fire magic rained down on the beast. Adventurers scrambled to shield themselves from the raging inferno. Now watch closely, this is where the whole story flips. When the smoke finally cleared, the dragon's massive body had completely vanished from the crater. Daisy explains that with zero corpse and no more sightings, the Lazy Guild just stamped the monster as subjugated and moved on. Marin's brain starts working. Human magic cannot reduce a full dragon to ash. Something else happened here. His eyes light up. That mad dragon absolutely has to be alive somewhere. Marin immediately asks where to find real answers. Daisy suggests checking out the Underground Thieves Guild for intel. Adama does not have one, but she points him to a massive syndicate called Forgotten out in the Western Wasteland. That name instantly grabs Marin's full attention. Daisy explains their only branch sits out in the brutal Roto Wasteland. It acts as a safe haven for hardcore adventurers surviving the desert. But she warns him the monsters out west are built different. You need to be at least B rank just to step foot in that region. Marin sincerely thanks her for the intel. Seeing he has what he needs, Daisy politely excuses herself from the archives. Marin realizes his goal. He has to reach this insanely dangerous western zone where the guild totally controls all access. Going west is the only real chance he has left to track down the mad dragon. He clenches his fist, resolve completely locked in. To get out to that western desert, he needs to hit B rank immediately. Cut to a few days later at the Hexam Guild Hall. The party is absolutely grinding non-stop requests. Other adventurers just stare as they drag themselves back inside. All three of them look completely dead, lugging massive, overflowing bags of monster loot. Onlookers start whispering that this is already their third run today. Okay, I know what you are thinking, absolute madness. They finished 10 quests this week, crashing the local market with orc parts, while the receptionist just stares completely bewildered. Immortal slams down their mountain of loot. The poor clerk nervously starts verifying all the items. Leaving the counter, Dahlia complains that Marin's gross monster diet is way more stressful than the actual quests. Immortal totally agrees. Flashback to a recent dungeon where Marin tried eating 15 different live slimes. He ended up getting hit with literally every status debuff imaginable. Back in reality, Marin is unbothered, wondering out loud if slime tastes better in a salad. Dahlia loses her mind, yelling that he is still dreaming up new monster recipes. Dahlia screams at Immortal to learn a cleanse skill just for Marin's stupid diet. Immortal groans, admitting she probably has to at this point. The receptionist finishes checking the loot and praises their insane work ethic. Immortal instantly pulls up her system menu to fast-track their promotion paperwork. The clerk hands over 2 individual promotion forms along with the official party rank upgrade sheet. Dahlia is actually stunned by Immortal's surprisingly fast paperwork skills. Immortal brags she filled it all out inside the dungeon. She also points out that the big festival of the new sun is starting really soon. With festive lanterns hanging everywhere, the girls chat about how packed and loud the city is going to be for weeks. Immortal says they should definitely take a break during the festival to recover, and Dahlia instantly agrees. Marin stays quiet, amazed that this festival of the new sun is actually still a thing after centuries. Pure nostalgia hits him. He remembers walking through these exact same festival streets with his old crew. The clerk calls the exhausted party back over. Verification is officially complete, making Immortal bounce with excitement. He proudly announces Dahlia and Marin both hit the goals and can advance to B rank. He happily adds, there is just one tiny final test left. Suddenly, a huge armored knight swaggers and claiming he just happened to overhear the good news. And that is where we leave it. Trust me, you are going to want to see why this annoying radiant hero just crashed their party again. Alright, grab a seat. You and I are about to watch this, a rank hero fake out some praise. Marin totally ignores him. Smart move against a guy like that. But the hero pushes harder, demanding our new B-rank adventurer finally take off that helmet. He claims he is just super curious about this insanely strong newbie who spawned out of thin air. He hypes up the mystery, pointing out nobody knows Marin's real face. And since B-rank adventurers are the main muscle of the guild, keeping your identity a secret completely destroys team trust. Dahlia and Immortal fire back. Why is he so obsessed with Marin's looks anyway? The jerk plays dumb, mocking their defensiveness, while Immortal straight up orders him to back off. Dahlia turns to Marin. He is dead silent, completely frozen. The crowd starts whispering. It hits Dahlia and Immortal. Literally nobody has seen Marin under that armor, and the paranoia is spreading fast. Sweating bullets, the receptionist chimes in. By guild law, the hero is actually right. He stammers out the rule. From B rank up, every regular member needs clear visual ID on record. No exceptions. Dahlia begs for a pass, putting his own name on the line for Marin. But the clerk won't budge. The clerk offers a middle ground, just show his face privately to the staff. Now pay close attention here. The hero twists this, accusing the guild of covering up a literal kinslayer. He stirs the pot, claiming everyone deserves to know who they are working with for their own safety. The rumor mill explodes. People start remembering wild stories about a helmeted psycho slaughtering newbie parties. Panic sets in. Dahlia connects the dots. This guy is purposely weaponizing fear against Marin. He corners Marin again. If there is nothing to hide, then taking off the helmet shouldn't be a big deal. Immortal tells Marin to block out the trash talk, promising they will find another way to clear his name. Smack Marin violently swats her hand away, completely rejecting her help. He stumbles back, absolutely losing it, while his party screams his name in pure shock. Heavy tears hit the floorboards as he completely falls apart. Total panic mode. Marin grabs his helmet, screaming out in sheer denial. Immortal and Dahlia sprint over terrified, begging to know what is going wrong inside his head. The hero just smirks. That mental breakdown just makes him look crazy guilty. He drops the hammer. If Marin won't unmask, he is demanding a full official guild investigation right now. Voices in the crowd demand answers about that kinslayer title. Everyone is suddenly terrified they are standing next to a wanted murderer. I know what you're thinking, fight back, but instead, Marin bolts for the doors. Immortal loses her mind. She curses out the human hero, screaming that she will rip his actual head off. The jerk laughs, calling her way more savage than any human. Immortal snaps and lunges for the kill, but Dahlia grabs her back, ordering the hero to shut his mouth. Dahlia warns her. Too many eyes here. Assaulting an A-rank hero would doom their entire party forever. He grounds her. As the leader, she cannot forget their real mission. She screams about the disrespect. Dahlia gets it, but right now, revenge has to wait. Their broken teammate has to be the #1 priority today. Outside, Marin just keeps running. He hates himself for running away, knowing the mess he left behind. Collapsing in a dark alley, he can barely breathe. Shaking out of control, he stares at his hands. Dark, twisted memories of raw power suddenly flood his mind. Flashes of waking up in a sea of corpses. Then a shady figure dragging him out of that hell. The weird guy was rushing to change outfits for some drama show. Marin remembers seeing his own reflection back then through another person's vision. Back to reality, he grabs his forehead. Is there something disgusting growing under there? He remembers the cold steel of his helmet. It is eating him alive. Is he still hiding a monster's face? Without guild approval, they cannot even take B-rank quests. If the world sees his monster face, it is game over. Absolute disaster for everyone around him. He hears the echoes. People screaming, calling him a freak. Flashbacks of being hunted down as a shapeshifter facing arrest. Dahlia and Immortal's absolute shock from that day haunts him. If history repeats itself, he has to quit. He refuses to be the dead weight destroying his own team. Suddenly, Dahlia catches up. Breathing hard, he warns Marin to freeze or he is putting a tracking arrow straight through his leg. Marin turns around, completely silent behind the metal. Dahlia says they need to talk. So what do you and I make of this? Back at the inn, the team sits in heavy, dead silence. Marin just sits there, head completely bowed in silence. Dahlia sighs, promising no lectures about him running off while Marin softly apologizes. Let's dive right in. Dahlia pushes hard. How long will he hide? Why won't he just show us his real face? Immortal begs him to explain everything so they can actually help. Marin's fist slowly clenches. He takes a breath and admits this nightmare started a really long time ago. He talks about a massive incident that cursed him with the Kinslayer title, swearing he had never taken a single life before that day. Ever since then, he felt like his own face had mutated into a literal monster. Back then, anyone who caught a glimpse reacted like they just saw absolute pure horror. And that is exactly why he's terrified to show his face even to his team. He's terrified that rumors of his freakish face will drag the whole party down. Their dream is hitting a rank right. He absolutely refuses to ruin their entire future just because he looks like a walking nightmare. He tells them to recruit someone new before things get messy. Bam! Immortal violently slams the table, screaming that he is speaking absolute garbage. Furious, she demands to know who gave him the right to just replace himself. Dahlia straight up yells that if Marin thinks so little of them, it's totally insulting. He reminds Marin they already accepted his human side, but Marin pushes back. Sure, they say any face is fine right now, but seeing the real thing changes people. Dahlia and Immortal just share a look, getting totally ready. Dahlia drops the truth being human is terrifying enough. He really doesn't care about Marin's actual face. Immortal grabs Marin's hand and nods. Seriously, the guy casually eats monsters for dinner. A weird face is nothing. They are totally fine with him being a human. Dahlia promises that whether he looks like a hideous monster or an alien, they still want him on the team. Hearing those words, Marin feels that overwhelming emotion bubbling up inside. He instantly flashes back to past promises that ended in backstabbing. It always goes horribly wrong. Still, even after getting betrayed over and over, he desperately wants to trust their kind words. Staring right into their determined eyes, he finally admits he needs them. He begs them not to scream or run away. Dahlia solemnly swears he won't blink an eye. Watch closely, this is it. Immortal swears on her family's lives. Marin, shaking completely, finally grabs his helmet and slowly pulls. The helmet comes off. Dahlia and Immortal are left in absolute stunned silence at the reveal. Cut to the very next morning, the sun shining over the guild tower. Inside, pure chaos. Everyone is gossiping that the runaway shielder is showing his face today, betting he's secretly a wanted criminal. People are arguing about his race. His squad hates humans, but that Kinslayer title totally screams human. Out loud, the shiny hero tells the crowd to chill, saying Marin might just be some ordinary innocent guy. The whole crowd naturally calms down, trusting the great hero. I know what you're thinking. Classic two-faced anime villain, right? Internally, he's calling them idiots. He knows Marin is hiding something, and plans to feed the crowd a fake accusation to ruin him. He smugly vows to get Marin permanently banned from the guild. Meanwhile, a big guy smoking a cigar groans about all the pointless drama. He tells the poor clerk that adventurers should spend that energy actually doing their jobs. The anxious clerk wonders if forcing Marin into this public trap is actually fair right now. She points out that, despite the wild rumors, Marin's crazy team has incredible teamwork and huge potential. The muscular guy straight up says he doesn't care about a coward hiding his face. If their guild unity breaks, they are doomed. He casually asks why clients always pick adventurers over regular mercenaries. He makes it simple, the magic word is trust. Mercenaries constantly flip into criminals for cheap gold, basically acting as disposable meat shields in war. Adventurers might be weaker, but they handle random quests and usually stay out of actual jail. Thanks to that reputation, mercenaries swapped jobs and the Hexaleem Guild exploded in size. He admits he hates the hero too, but Marin's Kinslayer title, weird monster diet, and creepy strength make him a massive liability. Basically, they have every right to step in. They can't risk the entire guild's reputation over one weird rookie. The doors swing open. Whispers erupt. Marin is finally here. The whole squad walks in together. Marin takes the lead, friends right beside him. Adventurers start whispering, shocked they actually had the guts to show up. Sweating bullets, the Beastman receptionist asks if Marin is seriously okay doing this in front of everybody. Marin just slowly lowers his head. So what do you and I make of this? Dahlia puts a hand on his shoulder, telling him to trust them. Everything is going to be fine. Stick with me here, Marin agrees quietly, his hands actually shaking as he removes his helmet. Long white hair spills out the second the helm comes off. The metal hits the floor and a drink shatters loudly, completely grabbing the attention of every single person in the room. People literally scream in shock at the sudden reveal. Even the cigar guy gasps hard. The hero tries to act grand, pretending they mean his face is terrible, and playfully scolds the crowd for overreacting. But when he finally spots Marin's uncovered face, his eyes go wide in pure disbelief. Marin's lips are totally visible as the hood drops. The big reveal is here. He is a ridiculously gorgeous young guy just clutching that old helmet. The whole crowd is stunned, silent, wondering if a face that perfect was really hiding in dirty armor, or if he's even human. Others stare in awe, completely amazed, wondering where this guy came from. One guy even squints at him, honestly questioning if he is really a dude because he is way prettier than the local girls. Immortal just smugly tells everyone to chill out, asking if they already forgot last night's talk. You're going to love this flashback to last night at the inn. Marin apologizes to the girls, totally assuming his hideous face left them speechless. Immortal and Dahlia are completely floored for a way different reason. As he apologizes for looking so hideous, Immortal instantly snatches his old helmet right out of his hands. She punts it across the room, smashing it to pieces. Calling his nickname in pure shock, she watches the metal clatter away into nothing. Turning her back, she warns him bluntly. If he ever hides that face and lies to people again, she will literally blow his head clean off. Marin, still super insecure, seriously asks if he is really that ugly. This triggers her completely. She screams that he is a total scammer, yelling that calling a face like his ugly is an unforgivable sin. Trying to cool her down, the much calmer Dahlia gently asks how Marin could ever think he looked like a monster with a face like that. Marin starts explaining everything. He admits that terrible memories of his old accident kept messing with his head until he literally forgot his own real face. Even when he tried to check a mirror, he physically could not bear to look. Pure fear and self-loathing always blocked him from seeing his reflection. He was also terrified that getting recognized meant getting dragged back to the royal castle. The flashback ends, showing Immortal pushing gawkers away, shouting at them to stop staring at her friend. Some humans grumble that the messy group clearly hates them, but they hate getting scolded just for looking. When the crowd asks the hero for his take, he has already vanished. Outside, the city streets stretch toward the distant royal district. Tucked in a dark alley, the hero punches a wall in pure rage. Absolutely seething, he curses Marin for making a total fool out of him. A random local yells at the hero for being noisy. The thug notices his fancy clothes and decides to rob him on the spot. The hero instantly slaughters the mugger with one blood-soaked strike. Can you believe this guy? Over the corpse, he wonders why Marin ever hid his face while accused as a kinslayer. He figures Marin's whole situation had to be a trap aimed straight at him from day one. He remembers how Marin stole the first dungeon clear title, and now he is clearly threatening his legendary standing as a hero too. A hooded subordinate quietly drops in. The hero snarls that Marin is just a trash-tier adventurer, and the minion asks if their business is done. The hero agrees, ordering a trip back to the capital right after telling his lackey to clean up the bloody mess. The subordinate nods, joking that the dead guy's only crime was pulling a blade on a hero. Walking away, the hero thinks he has Marin's plot figured out, convinced he wants to steal his glorious fame. He swears to teach Marin exactly what happens when you oppose a real hero, promising to make him regret everything. Later on, during a massive plaza festival, Immortelle watches the lively musicians and dancers. She curiously asks Marin what the humans are doing, and he explains it is just folk dancing. Dahlia grumbles about copying humans, but Immortelle excitedly insists that dancing looks super fun and they must try it. She tells Marin he is the only one who knows the steps, begging him to teach them. He claims he cannot dance well, but she happily fires back that it honestly does not matter at all. She explains that a festival is meant for everyone to enjoy together, smiling and saying that is exactly how her hometown did it. Marin hesitates, clearly moved in silence. Ignoring his protests, she grabs Dahlia and Marin by the hands, dragging them toward the dancing crowd. She yanks the bag right off his head, demanding he dance properly without hiding himself. A bunch of nearby kids spot Marin's face and stare in pure, delighted shock. They hype him up, calling him handsome, begging him to dance, and gushing over how pretty he is. As Marin dances hand in hand with everyone, he realizes the massive century-long emptiness in his dark life is finally slowly being filled. Glancing up at the bright moon and falling petals, Marin happily wonders what kind of delicious food they will get to eat tomorrow. Nearby women gossip, totally admiring how unbelievably handsome the guy dancing over there is. They laugh at his bad dancing while he says he warned them. Trust me, you and I are gonna love this wholesome squad. Let's jump straight back into the chaos. Dahlia finally tracks down Daisy, the beast man exhausted from searching absolutely everywhere. Daisy shrugs. She has no clue what this sudden visitor wants, especially since their chaotic party is strictly on vacation right now. She then compliments Ren. Normal street clothes actually suit him way better than bulky armor. Panicking, Ren frantically shoves a paper bag over his head. His teammate just sighs, asking why he is hiding when literally everyone already saw his face. Daisy casually slides over a super fancy document. She mentions it is not urgent, but the Beastman is totally confused about what this is. Boom, it is actually a highly exclusive special nominated request addressed directly to their messy party, leaving everyone completely speechless. Meanwhile, inside, a massive, distant hall packed with creeping statues, thick, ominous smoke rolls silently. Flickering candles illuminate a crazy, lavish banquet table. Down below, someone is gently washing another person's feet in a fancy basin, floating with rose petals. A refined, dark-haired woman smirks in pure satisfaction, whispering about how absolutely wonderful this feels. She snaps her fingers. Pay the informant their promised gold, then immediately prep a royal carriage and her absolute best dress. Stepping forward in her elegant gown, she confidently declares she is going to handle this personally. Now, watch this. Back at the festival, Ren steals his nerves, deciding they absolutely must travel to this requested location. Welcome to the Festival of the New Sun. It is a huge traditional A-drama celebration thrown right as the continent officially transitions into summer. The whole town square overflows with wild music and dancing, matching the blazing heat perfectly. Plus, there is endless rich food and crazy unique alcohol from this busy trade city. From high above, the bustling plaza looks insane. The hyped crowd toasts together, loudly clashing mugs as sticky foam spills everywhere. Dahlia gleefully shouts that since they worked so insanely hard, they should just eat and drink until their stomachs literally explode. Hexam glances over. Ren looks completely dead inside, so he asks why his face is totally drained. Daisy laughs, explaining that Dahlia basically held Ren hostage, making him play dress-up mannequin for 3 straight hours in a boutique. Hexam teases Dahlia, saying she looked like a possessed shopping demon, which honestly terrified poor Daisy. Buried alive in shopping bags, Ren just mutters that he really does not need this much. Hexam immediately scolds him. No more wearing trashy rags, he needs clothes that match his insanely good looks. Daisy strongly agrees, telling Ren to level up his fashion. Ren just internally wonders why everyone is suddenly treating him like the bad guy. Walking bareheaded through the brightly lit plaza, he suddenly realizes something. It has been forever since he stepped outside without his heavy helmet. Nearby women start gushing loudly about how insanely handsome some guy is. Realizing it is him, Ren visibly flinches in pure embarrassment. Daisy smiles, noting that since this festival is a massive deal, Ren really should let Dahlia teach him some basic fashion survival skills. I know what you are thinking, classic comedy timing. Overwhelmed, Ren slaps that stupid paper bag back on, making his friends furiously yell. Hexam and Daisy angrily scream at him to rip that bag off. It completely ruins the drinking vibe. He timidly mumbles about people staring at him. Daisy just sighs. He wore that giant chunk of iron armor for years, so they really should be patient. As he adjusts, Hexam warmly reassures Ren that time will cure his social anxiety. His face could easily stand out anywhere. Later, bag still firmly equipped, Ren deadpans that Uncle Lucky drank way too much and totally passed out. Joyful kids dance around street musicians singing a catchy song about Uncle Lucky chugging too much wine and passing out. Ren listens in absolute silence, his small frown barely visible under that paper bag. The cheerful song echoes over roaring bonfires and glowing festival lights, suddenly pulling Ren right back into his deep childhood memories. In the flashback, happy, energetic kids enthusiastically invite little Marin to dance around the blazing bonfire. A kind nun approaches, asking little Marin why he is just watching from the sidelines. He shyly admits he is basically a terrible dancer. She just smiles, offering her hand. Skill does not matter. Festivals are about everyone enjoying themselves, so even clumsy kids just need to go have fun. Feeling a spark of courage, young Marin grabs her hand and agrees to dance. The sweet memory shows little Marin, the nun, and the kids all holding hands, joyfully spinning around the flames. Snap back to reality. The festival kids keep dancing and singing the exact same song, while Ren just watches nostalgically. Meanwhile, in that noble hall, the same tune magically plays as servants fan the elegant wine-sipping woman. A nervous maid whispers directly to the steward. Nodding, he turns to Lady Bonita, confirming they finally secured the exact location and a portrait of her target. Her lips curl into a smirk, casually praising her team's lightning-fast speed. Eager for a peek, she leans forward. A horned maid quickly presents a glowing crystal resting on a plush cushion. The sphere ignites, projecting Ren's face. Bonita laughs, and trust me, you and I know this means absolutely massive trouble is coming next. Alright, jump in with me, we're heading straight to the rugged northern highlands. Believe it or not, folks actually survive in this unforgiving, freezing wasteland. A rickety wagon rattles down the trail and finally screeches to a halt. The driver calls out their arrival, and one of our adventurers steps right down onto the hard, rocky dirt. Ren, Hexarim, and Daisy stare dead ahead. Yup, this is the exact place. Welcome to the mining village of Tyreek. Suddenly, Daisy's super-sensitive ears twitch hard, reacting to a brutal, piercing sound. Daisy and Hexarim both grab their ears, groaning about the agonizing metallic screeching echoing everywhere. The air, completely thick with forge smoke. This entire town is absolutely crawling with loud, sweaty blacksmiths. They start whining. A new job right after the festival. They just wanted to sleep. Who even specifically requests a barely B-rank party anyway? Ren realizes these direct nominations usually only come from crazy rich nobles. This screams suspicious. Checking the official paperwork, he sees the client is someone from the Golden Workshop Morgano. He has absolutely zero clue who that is, but figures they must be loaded with cash. Since hitting B rank, they've just been slacking off. They have zero fame, so Ren starts sweating. What if this client wants something completely impossible? Now, pay close attention here. Following a sketchy map, they finally reach massive gates where the workshop sits. The trio stares up at this giant, intimidating stone building. Daisy knocks on the massive doors, announcing, "The messy party is here." Dead silence. They just stand there looking totally confused. Daisy thinks about punching it harder, but Hexarim instantly panics. If they break this door, they'll be in massive debt. Between the crazy forge noise and the locked door, they argue about whether to keep knocking or just bust right inside. Then Ren notices a weird glowing crystal device by the entrance like a magic doorbell. He goes ahead and pushes it. Daisy jumps back, demanding to know what he just did. Ren casually points out the glowing switch mechanism on the wall. The heavy doors creak open. A rough voice grumbles out, and a dwarf peeks through, looking pretty shocked to see them. Seeing an elf, a beastman, and a human, it clicks. He confirms they are the messy party, and ushers them inside, saying they were expected. He leads them to a table in the workshop, telling them to hold tight, the boss will be out soon. Wiping her forehead, Daisy complains they almost smashed that confusing magic door to pieces. Heavy footsteps echo. A voice calls out, apologizing for the unreleased high-tech front door. A young dwarf girl walks out, thanking them for coming. Daisy's jaw drops. She instantly recognizes her as Lord Gnome. Completely freaking out, Daisy and Hexarim bow like crazy. Why would a big shot like Lord Gnome want them? They swear to work their hardest. Gnome just laughs, telling them to chill out and sit down. Hot tea gets served right on the table between them. You and I both know this silence is agonizing. Finally, a sweating Daisy asks what Lord Gnome actually wants with them. Gnome explains her real goal, gathering rare materials for weapons and armor. She found out about the nomination system and picked Hexarim's crew. The moment she saw their familiar party name on the guild lists, she knew exactly who to call for this job. Daisy is practically crying, tears of joy being remembered. Meanwhile, Ren whispers asking if she is really that big a deal. He speaks up, if Gnome just went back to the dwarf kingdom, what is she doing hiding in a human town? Gnome smirks. She came here to master an absolutely essential technique for all craftsmen. For centuries, dwarves have only cared about blacksmithing, their weapon tech, completely unmatched, top tier. But because of that obsession, every single other skill completely fell apart and vanished. And now with the Demon Lord coming back, her people are going insane, forging endless weapons and heavy armor. Meanwhile, their daily living standards are absolute garbage. That is not real progress. But then she found something mind-blowing in the human kingdom. She dramatically declares this lost art must be brought back to the dwarf society immediately. Hexarim is shocked. Dwarves are tech gods. What could they possibly need to learn from basic humans? Gnome pauses, hyping up the mystery. This legendary technique is none other than cooking. Yes, cooking. She was completely blown away by human food, the crazy kitchen tools, and the insane flavor methods. She passionately praises human culinary skills, crying about how dwarf food culture was totally crushed by blacksmithing. Their food is basically non-existent. Most dwarves think chewing on plain rocks to fuel a hammer swing is a good meal. So she swore to change it. So what do you and I take from this? She absolutely refuses to go home until she becomes a master chef. Let's dive right in. You and I are about to see exactly why she stays here, constantly leveling up her cooking skills. Then she asks the party to share their food culture someday. The team nervously side-eyes our food-obsessed knight. Meanwhile, Ren just sits there silently, completely processing the request. Suddenly, he glows with pure resolve. He is absolutely ready to tackle this culinary mission head-on. Gnome decides that's enough backstory. She moves straight into the job details and safety warnings, and Dahlia eagerly leans in to listen. Later, the squad steps into a pitch-black dungeon called the Cave of Night. It's so dark, they immediately have to ask for some light. Boom, Daisy casts a magic spell, popping out bright spheres of light. Hexam gives it a nod and starts studying their map. He explains the mission: grab a white mineral sparking with red, plus some thigh bones from the local dungeon monsters. Finding absolutely nothing so far, he checks the map and realizes they need to push way deeper inside. Back in his helmet, Ren is already daydreaming. What monsters taste best, and what flavors do dwarves absolutely hate? He figures if they can revive dwarven food culture, the dwarves might actually eat monster cuisine as long as it looks delicious. Hexam and Daisy are whispering, completely stressed. Ren is way too fixated on feeding Gnome exotic monster dishes, and they're terrified this crazy menu will get them killed. Hexam makes a hardcore silent vow. He will absolutely stop Ren from bringing back monster meat. Trying to distract him, Daisy spots a glowing mineral deposit nearby and quickly shouts for Ren's attention. Hexam inspects the shiny crystals but shakes his head. The color is totally wrong. Whatever they need is definitely somewhere else. Daisy suggests going deeper. But right here, you and I need to pay attention. Hexam hears something heavy and freezes. Daisy feels something massive coming and screams a warning. Hexam yells, asking where it is, right before a huge wall explodes, blasting Immortelle straight across the room. Dust and massive rocks rain down everywhere inside the cavern. Hexam dashes over, desperately asking if Immortelle is okay. She just points a shaking finger straight ahead. Hexam turns around and his face goes pale with absolute shock. A massive one-eyed monster, a literal catoblepus, roars out of the smoke. The beast lets out an ear-piercing scream and charges straight down the tunnel at our squad. Ren slams his shield down, bracing for impact. He remembers these things aren't crazy high level, but that single eye, absolutely lethal. Making direct eye contact with that giant cyclops eye instantly triggers its terrifying hidden power. Anyone who looks at it turns to solid stone. Hexam shouts at Marin, making sure he's ready to attack the second Ren locks the beast down. Boom, Ren fully activates his special perception skill, Mind's Eye. He figures out the play. If he completely destroys that nasty eye, he can capture it safely and keep everyone alive. He charges in and smack. A massive impact shakes the cave as Ren physically slams into the monster, grappling it bare-handed. The clash is totally brutal. Dahlia and Hexam are screaming out Marin's name in pure panic, trying to see if he survived the hit. Ren's armored gauntlet crushes down on the beast. He plants his foot into the ground, completely anchoring himself against the monster's wild thrashing. Look at this shot. Ren is literally holding back this towering catoblepus with raw, unbelievable strength. Hexam yells for everyone to rush in, screaming for Ren to hold on. Ren breathes out a steady breath, locking his iron grip. Then wham, he drives a crushing blow straight into the beast's eye, completely destroying it in a massive blood spray. The fight wraps up. Dahlia and Hexam tell Marin to back off, genuinely freaked out by his crazy intensity. Meanwhile, the blinded catoblepus just screams in agony, blue blood splashing absolutely everywhere. Drenched in blue monster blood, Ren stands there completely calm behind his cracked helmet. Looking around the mess, he casually mentions his helmet is broken. His totally exhausted teammates, yeah, they are just losing their minds. Marin pulls off his cracked helmet. I know what you're thinking, face reveal. Immortel tells Ren this is a perfect chance to comfort Marin's spirit. Nervously, Marin admits feeling totally exposed and completely unsafe without his helmet. Ren completely panics at Marin's sudden anxiety. Seeing his super worried face makes Immortel cry out, feeling just horribly overwhelmingly guilty about everything. Immortel turns to Dahlia, eagerly asking if Marin's pitiful expression is doing anything to her heart. Dahlia sighs. Sure, he's got a pretty face, but deep down, he's still a monster eater. She just marvels that a guy this good-looking actually devours gross monsters. Sure enough, Marin drags the huge corpse over, deciding to butcher those massive hind legs for a very weird dinner. The huge meat slab is unveiled ominously, oozing fluids everywhere. The girls complain that Marin always picks the most foul-smelling food, begging him not to eat it. But Marin just pours pure antidote over the highly poisonous meat to detoxify it. He slices the detoxified junk into bite-sized chunks called raw catoblepas meat. Even Marin has to admit this stuff looks totally unsettling. Squinting at a piece, Marin notices the leg meat is incredibly soft and moist, lacking that usual tough, springy texture. Immortel panics, reminding Marin that the blood is highly lethal, but he swears the antidote makes it safe, completely ignoring her screams. He imagines it tasting like sweet juice, so what do you and I learn? Never underestimate a hungry gamer. Down the hatch it goes. Stick with me, Marin chews, and suddenly realizes this tastes absolutely incredible. He breaks down the flavor. Tastes like beef, but the texture is exactly like perfectly marbled fresh salmon. Marin is blown away. The meat literally melts on his tongue without any chewing. He figures it would stay super tender even if he grilled it like a thick steak. Dahlia and Immortel are struggling. This dish looks dangerously delicious even though it is pure poison. Immortel tells everyone not to fall for Marin's reaction. They complain that his ridiculously good looks make deadly food seem mouth-watering, proving just how deceptive appearances can be. Still super curious about this fishy taste, Marin decides to just grill up the rest of that monster meat. But then something feels off. Blood drips from his mouth as a system window pops up. He has been poisoned. Immortel and Dahlia just sigh heavily. They totally expected this the second Marin collapsed. While healing him, Immortel scolds Marin for never learning his lesson. She realizes this poison was way too strong for normal antidotes. The healing magic kicks in, and Marin weakly twitches. A system message suddenly pops up, granting Marin the pain tolerance passive skill, seriously boosting his resistance to agony. Marin thanks Immortel, then casually mentions his new pain tolerance skill, leaving her completely stunned. Dahlia jumps in. The guild actually leaked this exact trick. Poisoning yourself repeatedly builds pain tolerance, so practically every veteran adventurer already has this skill. Marin suddenly realizes his crazy monster diet actually counted as self-inflicted poisoning. Immortel grumbles that his nonsense forced her to learn status removal. Dahlia ignores it, ordering them to find the whetstone. Later, back at the Dwarven workshop, Immortel announces they are back and hears their gear is ready. Inside, an apprentice asks them to hold on since Master Gnome is busy. Immortel awkwardly lounges around, complaining she is bored since they finished early. Suddenly, her stomach growls. Smelling something amazing, she turns to see Marin pulling out a massive platter of crispy fried harpy. Now watch what happens next. Dahlia panics over bringing monster meat inside, but Marin argues they are starving. Immortel completely caves, rationalizing they can eat quickly before Gnome gets back. She practically begs Marin to start. Marin just pauses, holding a crispy piece on his fork, making Immortel literally drool. Seeing her staring, Marin offers her a bite. She snatches it up, calling it a special exception. Immortel totally loses her mind over the melting batter, perfect seasoning, and juicy texture. Dahlia angrily accuses her of treason for eating it, but she just demands they finish the whole plate before Master Gnome arrives. Too late, Master Gnome suddenly pops up, catching them red-handed. Immortel screams as Gnome demands to know what they are eating. They clumsily play dumb. When Gnome asks if they cooked it themselves, they wave their hands frantically, completely denying everything. You and I knew this would happen, right? Intrigued, Gnome asks to try this highly suspicious dish. Marin smiles, super excited to show off human food culture to a dwarf. Dahlia and Immortel frantically beg Gnome not to eat garbage. Gnome coldly shuts them down, calling them insolent. Releasing a terrifying aura, she completely silences the children of the Sun and World Tree, demanding absolute obedience. Terrified, Dahlia and Immortel bow, swearing they never meant to defy her. Gnome calmly grabs a piece of fried harpy and takes a bite. Instantly, her eyes go wide. Gnome starts hyping it up, perfectly crispy on the outside, incredibly juicy, sweet, and perfectly salted inside. She literally says it beats a high-class banquet. Marin is absolutely shocked that a royal dwarf used to luxury loves his monster cooking this much. Meanwhile, Gnome's disciples sweat nervously, imagining the most disturbing meat options. Gnome steps closer, aggressively demanding to know exactly what animal this came from and its origin. While Dahlia stalls for time, Immortelle cracks and screams harpy. Gnome thinks harpy is just some farmed bird, but Immortelle awkwardly explains it is a terrifying bird monster with a human face. Gnome freezes, repeating the word, realizing she ate monster meat. Furious, the disciples yell that they prepared a special luxury meal for Gnome. They lose their minds over this insult, rushing forward to pump their master full of antidotes, just in case. Marin calmly explains he removed the poison while cooking. One angry disciple threatens to execute him on the spot, but Gnome holds up a hand saying she feels fine. Gnome admits Marin's friends tried to warn her, so she officially forgives them. She confesses the harpy meat completely shocked her, but she cannot deny its deliciousness. Marin gets curious and asks about other monsters. Gnome bluntly states most of them taste like absolute garbage compared to harpy. Gnome concludes that properly cooked monsters can outclass normal livestock, and she immediately decides to research edible beasts. That is where we leave it. Gnome finally remembers Marin's gear needs fixing. Alright, let's jump back in. Since they completely nailed the quest and served up a masterpiece, she's offering a massive favor. Master Gnome announces she will personally forge their gear. The crew is absolutely speechless. An epic once-in-a-lifetime honor. She also begs Marin to teach her everything about monster cooking. Dahlia and Immortelle just stare, sweating buckets at her weird obsession. Marin politely agrees to take her on as a student. Then we cut back to the Sunny Adventurer Guild. Inside, the receptionist officially clears their quest and thanks them. Outside, the girls are still losing their minds. Master Gnome making their armor. Talk about hitting the adventurer jackpot. Dahlia tries bringing up another topic, but Marin is already pouring antidote onto raw monster meat. Hey, if Master Gnome likes it, why not? Dahlia scolds him for whipping out gross ingredients in public, but Marin just casually checks his poison ratios. Random people on the street gag, begging him to put that nasty stuff away. But this guy is stubborn and wants to keep cooking. Luckily, the guild receptionist calls him back inside. Following up on his previous question, she mentions there are still open jobs on the Western continent. Is he interested? Marin is confused. Wasn't the West completely restricted? Can rookies really just walk in? She totally reassures them it is fine. A senior official jumps in. Thanks to Master Gnome's glowing recommendation, their party's reputation just skyrocketed through the roof. Watch closely now, this means he can finally hunt down that crazy dragon. Still hesitant, he asks if he must decide today. She warns him that quests vanish fast. First come, first served, but Marin pauses, wanting to hear what his girls think first. He pulls them aside, explaining a Western branch might actually have leads on his target. He admits he really wants to go, but only if they agree. Dahlia and Immortelle just smile. He doesn't need permission, plus chasing higher-tier missions will only make all of them stronger. It is decided. Next stop, the Western continent. Marin genuinely thanks them while the receptionist cheerfully processes their shiny new paperwork. Suddenly, someone taps Marin, pointing him straight toward the front doors. The whole room starts buzzing with loud whispers. Outside, a random guy squints through the glass, trying to see the crazy commotion. Fancy carriages suddenly pull up outside the building. The guild staff start panicking. Why are there so many servants? Is some rich noble arriving? We get a flash of silk and lace. A super rich, elegant young woman steps out of the carriage like absolute royalty. She mentally introduces herself as Bonita Diardua, stepping into town to claim her shiny new treasure. The crowd gasps. She is the boss of House DeMarta, a literal billionaire with insane power. Sweating staff members practically trip over themselves to greet her, begging to know how they can serve someone so important. Bonita just glares, icing them out. She tells the pathetic peasants to move aside immediately. Dahlia spots her marching right over. We both know this means trouble. Bonita marches right into Marin's personal space and just stares. Smirking, she declares he looks even more valuable up close. She completely obsesses over his amethyst eyes and silky white hair. As she strokes it, Marin feels a familiar chill. Furious Dahlia steps up, demanding to know what this random human thinks she is doing. Ignoring her, Bonita loudly crowns Marin a flawless masterpiece. She commands him to be hers, promising a much better life. Immortelle totally loses it, screaming that Marin isn't some cheap trophy you can just buy. But before she can attack, she freezes in shock. Bonita's terrifying bodyguards are already glaring daggers at Dahlia and Immortelle. Bonita casually suggests ditching this filthy dump. Marin just stands there looking seriously uncomfortable. Panic mode activated. Dahlia and Immortelle frantically ask if Marin actually knows this crazy lady. Marin sighs. It is not exactly the same, but it totally reminds him of another unhinged noble from his past. He remembers another rich creep who tried buying him with jewels. Meanwhile, Bonita is currently praising his gorgeous voice and offering him the absolute best suite in her massive mansion. Immortelle yells again. He is not a slave. Why is she trying to kidnap him right out of the guild? Bonita's smile vanishes. She coldly asks how a low-class peasant dares to bark at her. She honestly admits the only reason they are still breathing is because they know Marin. Plus, she doesn't buy slaves anyway. Pointing at her weirdly smiling servants, she claims they all followed her totally by choice. Unlike those trash nobles who kidnap people and toss them out, she pays top dollar and treats her people perfectly. She guarantees him endless luxury. Honestly, what do you think he will choose? Stick with me here. She offers top-tier pay and pure luxury just for being a pretty face. Marin's heard this pitch before. He asks if her ancestor is Mesh. Bonita's shocked he knows her grandpa, assuming he respects noble rules. Marin remembers Mesh pulling this exact same stunt. The apple definitely doesn't fall far from the tree. Bonita excitedly tells him to hop in her carriage to chat. But Marin, he flat out says no. She promises the absolute dream life. Just stand there looking pretty while getting pampered with warm baths and comfy beds. Marin just deadpans that he hates the idea. Getting desperate, Bonita screams he'd have infinite gold and total freedom. Marin calmly repeats himself. Still a hard pass. Bonita shakes with pure rage, totally baffled by the rejection. She's not forcing anyone, so why do these adventurers keep turning her down? It reminds her of another shabby hero who rejected her, choosing to go save the world instead of staying with her. Well, her pride is hurt. She decides she absolutely has to add Marin and his squad to her personal collection. Even if she has to enslave them, the guild hall instantly erupts into chaos as staff scramble. The standoff at the center is heating up. Meanwhile, someone holding a glowing magic orb notices the commotion. He asks what's going on quickly, realizing that something seriously annoying is about to go down. Looking at the panicked staff, he figures out Marin's crew is getting kidnapped and framed as criminal slaves. A massive bald servant steps right up, towering over Marin. Watch closely here. Dahlia draws his weapon, absolutely refusing to let these humans pull this garbage. Marin braces himself, planning to knock them out gently to avoid a massive scene. But then, someone apologizes and interrupts the whole fight. Stepping into the tension, the Vice Master calls out the Count for causing such a huge mess over a personal tantrum. Demarda brushes it off, calling it a tiny argument over collecting some art. Holding up his magic orb, the Vice Master announces, "Someone wants a word with the Count right now." A massive hologram of a gnome lady pops up. Demarda instantly panics, realizing exactly who she's looking at. The adventurers are completely stunned. It's Master Ohira Gnome, the absolute legend of golden craftsmanship. Demarda frantically spits out her noble title. Ohira casually praises her museum, saying she respects art lovers. But then she roasts Demarda for treating actual living people like objects. The Vice Master echoes that through the orb. People deserve freedom to chase their own dreams. You simply cannot drag his benefactors away by force. Terrified, Demarda stammers that she just wanted to offer them a proper reward. Ohira glares, asking if Demarda is seriously trying to start a diplomatic war. You and I know she's lying, but Demarda frantically denies it, shocked a gnome is defending commoners. She pivots to Ren, begging to at least draw his ridiculously pretty face. But Ren shuts it down, he doesn't want to be a specimen. Demarda throws a fit, refusing to leave without a drawing. Ohira tells her to take a chill pill. To reward the party, Ohira offers to personally forge one golden item just for Demarda. The noble's jaw absolutely drops. Thrilled with the jackpot, Demarda snaps her fingers. She tells her goons to pack it up and head straight home. With the crazy lady gone, Dahlia immediately checks on Marin and Ren. Demarda glances back with a wicked smirk as Ren weakly replies. She thinks a shiny toy like Ren belongs in the capital anyway, promising herself she won't forget this gorgeous commoner. She swears on her noble name that once he hits the capital, he is definitely going to be hers. The Vice Master thanks Lord Gnome for saving the day. She happily signs off to get back to her anvil. Ren's crew thanks the Vice Master, but he deflects all credit to Master Gnome, sighing about how much he hates noble politics. The elf says they need to bolt west immediately. The Beastkin laughs, blaming Ren's ridiculously good looks for the chaos. Ren considers wearing his helmet again to hide his face, but the Beastkin insists hiding that beauty is a crime. A staff member interrupts, warning them that heading west is super dangerous right now. The elf immediately asks what's wrong. She explains their target, Dogma's Relic Hall, is a brutal wind dungeon that needs hardcore strategy. The last scout team had a massive accident there, and they're literally still in a coma. She knows they're strong, but warns them not to get cocky. One slip up in there means instant death. So where does that leave us? The West is clearly built different, and they need to prep for pure hell. Let's jump right in. Ren hears Dogalis Relic Hall and racks his brain for clues. He remembers tons of nasty traps, sure, but nothing actually life-threatening or wildly dangerous. Wiping out a whole party? No way. Something huge must have changed in there. Now pay attention here. Down in a creepy torchlit hall, these cloaked guys feel something shifting. The guy in charge hypes up his cultists, screaming that the absolute king of monsters is arriving soon. This high-ranking maniac promises absolute bloodshed for anyone defying them. He demands dead, decaying flesh as an offering, all to build a brand new body for the ultimate demon king. The whole hooded crowd wildly chants Irem together. Turns out, this guy is the Demon King's right-hand man. He orders everyone to back up their fellow cultists the second their Dark Lord drops in. He pushes them to take this evil crusade even further. I know what you're thinking, classic cult logic, right? He claims they're saving friends from non-believers, promising that very soon they'll rule this broken world as its true saviors. Looming over a helpless sacrifice, he screams that if anyone resists the Demon King's pure darkness, they'll completely wipe that pathetic light from existence. Throwing his arms up while crazy red energy explodes around him, he begs his followers to pray their loyalty actually pays off. Chanting heavy Latin, a massive glowing red magic circle suddenly activates. Trust me, this dark sacrifice means things are about to get completely wild.